It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Oops. What's up? Good morning. I'm not on a struggle bus. I'm in this really interesting spot. I'm not tired. Yesterday was exhausting. Good morning, L Cool J. Hey, Nicole. Yeah, I'm not exhausted. Yesterday I was. What's up? What's this? The owl lady? Who is the owl lady? Who is that? Welcome to the chat. I see you follow yesterday. I see I got a couple new followers. What's up? Hey, Meg. Megsy. Somebody said Megsy yesterday on the call. on the call. What's up, Paul? Hey, what's up? What's up, other Meg? Right? Jim? That's Meg, right? Megsy, I like that. Nicole, you've been knighted, Nicole. I have dubbed thee Little Mama. If you don't like Little Mama, you do. This is a democratic space. You can yay or nay it. Drop the yay or nay to Little Mama as a nickname. Drop the yay. All right, yeah. Okay, yeah. Rugby. Is that a cool nickname, Meg? Nah. Like, tell me. Oh, I'm out of focus because I'm playing around too much. Yeah, Megsy, Rugby. Yeah. Oh, Noah, you don't get to vote. Wait, no. She got to vote, Noah. No, it wasn't for you. I'm trying to get focused. All right. I like it. Nicole is, yeah. Oh, chili. Little Mama. Yes. Oh, y'all make my morning. Yeah, like I woke up really rested. I'm so happy City Council, I'm sure we probably could have stayed to the very, very end, but like the hot, juicy stuff, the spicy stuff was, we got through it. It was fun yesterday. I had a ball. I know it wasn't like and I'm glad it wasn't the raucous thing. I think I want to normalize, us engaging with council, for a number of reasons. One reason, it builds community, right? The other reason is that it makes city council more accessible. We're not afraid to ask each other basic questions. I got you. Basic questions. If we don't know things, some people don't like to admit what they don't know. I'm not that person. I hate looking dumb. I hate like being ignorant out here. The earth is flat, and I know this because YouTube. I don't want to be that person. So I like when people correct me in real time, especially out of the spirit of like, hey, I want you to be better and do better. Even if it's crisp correction, right? Because I practice that. But yeah, I think watching together makes it more accessible. We can ask each other questions. We can Google. Y'all been Googling and dropping things in the chat in real time or sending me things. I Google or articles and whatnot. I think it's important. So I think it's almost more important to watch City Council together when it's not raucous, when it's not just eventful and a lot of things going on. I think it's more important. So yeah, I want to normalize that. Like, hey, it's okay to, like, and I know it's not always titillating, but I think watching together helps and make it a little bit more entertaining. Putting that broccoli in with the mac and cheese, you know me. But yeah, yesterday was fun. Yeah. Yeah, Kyrie, don't even. I'm triggered, Joni. I'm just, him and his aunt is on another level. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome. Even if y'all ain't in the chat, good morning. I'm mikagadsden. This is mic'd up. I'm doing it the wrong way. I'm sorry. Y'all don't understand. It's reverse over here. Mic'd up. I can just look down next time. How about that? Mic'd up. It's mic'd up with Mika. Thank you for being here. Shout out D Bartlett too for rocking a shirt the other day. Gang. Got 2 more shirts going out. If somebody can help me turn. Shout out to Kayla. I sent check it out. So this follower of mine, Kayla, was super rad last year, and Kayla was like, "Yo, I can hook you up your website, can help you." I'm like, "Cool, please, thank you. How much do I owe you?" "No, it's free. It's free." And I dropped the ball, and Kayla did a magnificent job, and she set up everything I wanted to have set up. But the page is on demo, and I never, when I had her rapt attention, I never followed up and like, "Hey, how do I take it from demo to to live?" If anyone knows how to take a Wix website page from demo to live, I'm already paying for premium. I'm paying for a website for years that I don't use really. When you go to charlestonactivistnetwork.com, it's a hot fucking mess. But Kayla did amazing work, and I just need to switch it over. I'm bringing that up because I brought it up for a reason. I'm trying to put the shirts on the website, trying to have a place where people can go and I can keep track of quantities and stuff like that, and also bring some other merch like hoodies and all that other stuff. So that's important. I know I went all around the world. Yeah. All right, so today the live stream is called Blackwater. I don't have a thumbnail for it yet, but Blackwater. And this morning I saw the front page of the Post and Courier, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sit here on this camera and lie to y'all and say, "Yup, I knew we was gonna talk about water. I knew that 2 weeks ago." But I've had information, and I've had an inspiration to talk about Black people and Black history through our relationship with water. Right. So I've wanted to do that for a long time. Y'all know my work with Friends of Gadsden Creek. That work, the origin story of that work starts with my relationship with my brother, Cyrus Buffum. Cyrus is an oysterman and low-key historian. Just like a kind of a jack of all trades type of thing, but he is fanatical and enthusiastic about our natural, wetlands and water and science and flora and fauna and all that. And it's through like my friendship with him that I learned more about Black people's relationship with water in the South. And so we're going to kind of start that conversation, and I hope we continue to have that conversation. But let me see. I run my shop through Square. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, you know what, Nicole, thank you for dropping that in there. I have a friend who's a web developer who said the same. He kind of suggested the same thing this weekend. So you just confirmed that I probably need to get on that. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I want to talk about that today. Talk about water. We're going to look at the front page. We're going to do a real quick news roundup. And I had a not a random thought, but a thought. So we have Bill Sharp retiring, and then last night this morning I see Dean Stevens is stepping down, and this wasn't like he effective immediately, it said, which kind of got my attention. And look, I ain't trying to like speculate too much. I do think, they have. Look,
hey everybody, I'm Dean.
Hold on. They have down here, right? I'm gonna do a local news roundup, then we're gonna get to Blackwater. They have here like our local. I can't. It's too small over here. Our lead anchor Dean Stevens announced his retirement Tuesday, effective immediately after 31 years of covering the Low Country. And then in quotes it says there are those who say this retirement from ABC News 4 came abruptly. It did not. I'm gonna push back on that. You don't just step down from a major anchor position. I get it. I think, if you follow Dean Stevens on Twitter, he's really passionate. Nicole. Oh, hey, wait. Hey, who's this? Ivy from South Africa. I said, Nicole. Chill. All right. Anyway, I don't know. This just to me is like there's more to it. But I know that Dean Stevens is expressive. I know he's taken to Twitter and has articulated some thoughts that were like, damn, you don't really hear anchors kind of, break from the script too often. So maybe there was some things, but effective immediately, as someone who was just recently hit with an involuntary effective immediately, it just made me perk up. It just made me perk up. So let's play his he quit. he might just be, remember that movie, was the Newsroom? I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Maybe he had that moment.
Hey everybody, I'm Dean Stevens. A former
got you.
coworker once told me leaving this set, taking a left turn to the hallway followed by a straight shot to the parking lot was the best left turn of his day. And I could not disagree more. I've made my first left turn into the station parking lot on Ben Sawyer Boulevard back in July of 1990. I was a 27-year-old kid who never lived anywhere but in the great state of Texas. Little did I know how the great people of the Palmetto State were about to change my life. In August of 1992, I found an open door in the open arms of a community committed to recovery from alcohol and drugs. They have been with me every step of the way, every day since, 10,630 days to be exact. You were with me in March of 1994 when Caroline and I exchanged our wedding vows. Our sports director at the time, Steve Bartlestein, pulled off what was likely the first ever wedding reception live shot in the Lowcountry. You were there for the births of Jack, Charlie, and Sam. Not exactly in the delivery room, but just on the other side of the TV screen to welcome us home. And you were there October 3rd, 2005, when our 11-month-old Sam was struck by a car.
Oh, no.
As he crawled on the driveway of our family home.
No.
You were there with prayers when we were unsure if he was to live or die. You were there when our church family held a special service for Sam 7 days later.
Oh.
And you were there when he was released from MUSC's Children's Hospital 19 days later. And you are still there for Sam and for our family, and ask about him nearly 16 years later. You carried our family until we could find our footing. The greatest compliment I received in 31 years is when I earned your trust and when you chose to share your lives with me, your stories and your secrets and your hopes and your dreams, your disappointments and your tragedies. And I'll never be able to put into words what that meant to me and what you mean to me. Professionally, I covered sports from 1990 to 2002. I learned from the best.
That's why I know
John
him from
Cresses
sports.
and the Ray Stackleys and the Fred Jordans, the Tom Rileys, the John
When I was in
McKissicks
high
of the
school.
world. I covered the best back in the day, CFC basketball, Citadel baseball, the early days of the Stingrays, and a packed-out Coliseum, epic. The Braves in the World Series, the vibrations at the Daytona 500 when that green flag dropped, little compares to that. Oh yeah, we were golden covering the 96 Olympics in Atlanta as well. I was a lucky, lucky man. But those were just events. They came and they went, and the memories eventually will fade. But the relationships inside the walls of this building will last a lifetime. I worked with some amazingly talented folks who passed down a wealth of knowledge and experience. And I was privileged to be able to share what was so freely given to me with those who wanted to learn. I have lifelong friends from the Quattro, and for that,
From the Quattro.
I'm forever thankful.
That's what they
There are
call
those
it.
who say this retirement from ABC News 4 came abruptly.
It is.
It did not.
It's
It had been clawing at me for some time. A series of events, coincidences, and God winks recently led me down a path of self-realization and awareness that my physical and mental health needed more of my attention than VOSOTs and overnight news tips and social media posts.
Now that's real.
Nothing more.
That's real.
Nothing less.
Okay. I'll take him at his
It was
word.
time to do a better job of taking care of me. All the blessings, all the gifts, all the opportunities, none of it would have been possible without the support of Caroline. Never once in 29 years did she ever say, "Why are you working the weekends? Why are you missing dinner? Why are you working 14 hours today?" When things got tough, she got tougher. She is my world. Jack, Charlie, Sam, you're my heart and my soul and my reason. I'm a blessed man surrounded by the best team, family, co-workers, and you. It remains a winning combination. And when I take my last left turn, I will do so with a tear in my eye and a heart overflowing with appreciation and a level of gratitude I never knew existed until I met the Lowcountry. I promise you we will meet again, and I will see you soon. But until then, may you find peace in your day and quiet in your night.
It's still abrupt.
I love you all.
That's sweet. I'm glad they gave him that time to do that. Again, not to center myself, but I mean, this whole thing is about, I want y'all to do it too. Like, relating, like, how do we see ourselves, or how do we connect with news and information? Shout out to the new subby. Thank you, KCJ18. Thank you. It's a El Cool J, pretty nice farewell for real. I'm gonna take him at his word. Like he said, it was just, hey, I've been thinking about this for a minute. I do think it's an abrupt way to leave a pivotal spot, but I heard what he said when he talking about, his mental health and late nights, weekends, and late night tips, social media. That's real. And so I hear him, and I take him at his word on that. It just is an abrupt decision. And I think what this inspired, I said this before I played the clip, this inspired a thought, right? So again, also too, what I want y'all to understand about this space that I'm trying to create and build out is that, of course, we distill the media, we interrogate how power flows, we interrogate the way our newsrooms are set up, the history of news and information, and how it's spread throughout our communities. We also talk about the history of news in this state, and the democratization of news and information, right? That's why we use the library card to access the news as much as we can, and that's why we use YouTube as well. I think the other thing is too, like, so with Bill Sharp and now with Dean Stevens stepping down, what does that mean for our media landscape? I know that this area, like many others, we have Black women have a very important and steadfast presence in our as anchors on our news channels, right? WCBD, definitely, all of them really do have prominent Black women anchoring, various news programs throughout the day, whether it's the morning show, the evening news, or the nightly news, right? But what does it mean for the landscape? What does diversity mean? And not just Black and white either. I was raised in a place where there was a lot more diversity. So it wasn't, Connie Chung wasn't the only one, is my point. Like, only Asian face on news for me. I grew up with a bunch of different types of people, Latinx, Asian, Afro-Latina, like, just different things. And so I'm not saying, hey, kick rocks, Dean. I'm not saying that, but I'm really intrigued about what the landscape could look like moving forward. Yeah. And of course the presence of Black professionals in that space as well. And why don't we have, the one thing I will say that this area don't have, they don't have like prominent Black male anchors. And that's interesting. That's interesting. So much so, like, this morning, I went to the National Association of Black Journalists, NABJ, for short, and I looked at their Hall of Fame, like their past Hall of Fame inductees. Now, I don't know how much they update this, but this was as of 2014. And as I'm scrolling down, I'm seeing faces like Bernard Shaw, national figure in the news, Ernest Dunbar, let me see. Okay, Gwen Ifill, of course. Yep, Ed Bradley. Well, I'm trying to focus on Black men, but I just saw Gwen Ifill, so you know how I feel about her. Ed Bradley. Earl Caldwell. Just Black men in this journalism space is really wild to me. Given the history, John Johnson, given the history of Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine. Before I moved here, I moved from Philly, so you had Yuki on CBS Philly, Yuki Washington. That just makes me think about that. We know we have Raphael over at the CBS News affiliate, but where are the Black men in this space as well? That's a question. So I don't know if they've been relegated to media more so like radio presence than television. And I think that's a big miss, not to have and this is the same thing you could say about Black male teachers, right? Growing up, I've had Black male educators or educational or administrators all up and through until I moved down here, where only time you interact with Black leaders in schools was through sports and athletics. Whereas I grew up, preschool. Y'all saw my preschool picture. Black teacher there. Very close to that black teacher. In middle school and elementary school, so on and so forth, in high school, chaperones on trips, like that just makes me think about like black men as authority figures, black men as prominent leading voices, right? So Dean Stevens stepping down, it nothing bad. I'm not saying anything. It is what it is. Just always want you to think about what you don't see versus what you do see, what's served up to you every night. So Dean Stevens, a fixture in my home for a long time. Like I said, in high school, he was doing sports coverage. I remember that before I left and went off to college. And that's cool. But what I always think about what's not there, if that makes any sense. All right, I don't know if I lost people on that one, but farewell to Dean Stevens. I ain't mad that he left for Sinclair Station. No, I ain't mad. Let's get to a real quick local news roundup and we'll get back to Blackwater. Again, a Black history told through our relationship with water. We're going to get to that, but let's get to this news. Why?
A federal judge blocking a ban on mask mandates in South Carolina schools. So this means that school districts will be allowed to decide if they will require.
Let me see. You said what's Blackwater? Hold on real quick. I just want to address this real quick. Whoop. What's Blackwater? History. Black history. South Carolina Black history as told through our relationship with water. What's up, atheist Alexis?
In classrooms. This News' Lexi Moore joins us now in studio. And Lexi, break down this new order that goes against the state's current proviso.
Yeah, Brendan, this new order says that prohibiting school districts from implementing mask requirements discriminates against children with disabilities who may be more susceptible to severe COVID-19 outcomes.
District Court Judge Mary Geiger Lewis said, quote, "No one can reasonably argue that it is an undue burden to wear a mask to accommodate a child with disabilities." Now, we just heard a spokesperson with the governor's office, and they said in part, quote, "The governor strongly disagrees with the court's decision and will defend a parent's right to decide what's best for their
outcomes."
District Court Judge Mary Geiger Lewis said, quote, "No one..."
Okay, pause it here. It is non-controversial. Okay. It is non-controversial that children need to go to school. Right. Agreed. And they are entitled to any reasonable accommodation that allows them to do so. Agreed. No one can reasonably argue that it is right. It is not an undue burden to wear a mask to accommodate a child with disabilities. I agree with that decision. That's a very common sense decision.
One can reasonably argue that it is an undue burden to wear a mask to accommodate a child with disabilities. Now, we just heard a spokesperson with the governor's office, and they said in part, quote, "The governor's..."
I'm going to pause it here so we can go ahead and marinate on this. The governor strongly disagrees with the court decision. So they disagree, and then this is the rebuttal, or part of the rebuttal, and will defend a parent's right to decide. So the judge just said we need to make reasonable accommodations for kids that might be at risk, and the rebuttal to them is some bullshit old states' rights dusted off and remixed into saying parents' rights. Is that what we're doing, Governor? It's like they don't even try. They don't even. It's like these canned responses. We're not talking about the parents' right to decide. What about the parents? What about the parents with a child that has disabilities? Don't they have rights as well? Don't they have a right to send their kids to school safely? And it's not burdensome to wear a mask. It's not burdensome to wear a mask. No, they trying it. It's just real lazy too. This is a really lazy rebuttal. Let me let it rock.
Strongly disagrees with the court's decision and will defend a parent's right to decide what's best for their child up to the United States Supreme Court if necessary.
Yeah, we're not talking about
State
that.
Senator
I know.
Chip
That's
Campson
Blackwater
also agrees
word.
with Governor McMaster, saying that the governor should have full power over this decision, not legislators.
I think it's up to the parents' decisions about whether you're going to have a mask or not, but I don't think we should have addressed it legislatively. We should have left it up to the governor to address that. He has extensive executive powers when it comes to emergency powers. He's actually weakened.
Maybe, but also keep in mind that governor, because It's so funny how he's asserting that the governor has all this power and authority to do so. Obviously you don't, motherfucker, because federal judge just said, nah, pump your fucking brakes. So obviously you don't. Not only that, because y'all are so anti-black historically, our political institutions were so afraid of a black man possibly becoming governor that during the Reconstruction period, they weakened the powers of the state governor in the event that a black man was elected, so that he could not. That's why you have all those 2/3 majority, this and that. That's why, you know, the other parts of our government have more power than you would say than the actual head, the leader of the state. So actually you don't have the power, and because you played yourself during Reconstruction, you can argue, you can make the argument, not definitively, I'm being a little fast and loose, but you don't have the power you think you have, McMaster. In emergency situations, what, you can reverse traffic on I-26 during a hurricane? Like, this ain't that, bruh. This is a public health emergency. So you don't have the power. Let me hear that again. You ever see somebody take a L and they refuse to go down? Just stay down, man. Throw in the towel.
Powers when it comes to emergency powers. He's actually weakened the legislative branch is what he's done.
However, other state leaders agreeing with the new order. Former U.S. Congressman Joe Cunningham just released a statement saying in part, quote, "It is a shame that
It's crazy. This crazy. Not crazy that he said something, but I'm sorry, I'm thinking of something I ain't even want to say out loud.
Took a federal judge to intervene so that South Carolina students can safely attend school, but our governor's total lack of leadership left Judge Lewis no choice."
Okay.
The South Carolina Department of Education said they will be reviewing the decision and will provide guidance to schools and districts on its implications tomorrow. We'll have the latest details on air and online over on CountOn2.com.
Okay.
Reporting live in studio, I'm Lexi Moore, Count on 2.
Okay, so that's an update on that. And that again, we didn't get to it yesterday. I was trying to, but we didn't get to it yesterday. About the front page of the Post and Courier. That basically that was the story right there. Last night though, during City Council, I think this is before City Council. Let me see. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this was recorded before or after. But you know that on the agenda, they were going to discuss the mask mandate. They brought Dr. Sweat back. I think, like some of y'all observed as we watched both 2 weeks ago and yesterday. I think it was a very deliberate decision to have Dr. Sweat come back versus the guy. I think it was from Roper, the younger gentleman from Roper, who was like not having it at all. Roper knows what's going on. Roper ain't afraid to alienate itself. And I think MUSC has some leadership that feels the same way as some of the Roper folk. But you have to understand also too, the city's relationship with MUSC, which I didn't bring up last night. But again, with my work through the Friends of Gadsden Creek, you understand the city's relationship with MUSC. You understand also the whole like eds and meds, diet eds and meds formula. Like eds and meds, for those who don't kind of understand, like, so look at Camden, New Jersey. If you go to Camden, New Jersey, you'll see a number of medical universities and sprawling campuses. Like they just grow and grow and grow, different types of facilities and whatnot. And then you also see a number of schools like Rutgers, Camden, and whatnot. Other schools start to really proliferate throughout the area, right? I guess you could say Camden's still blighted, but we understand what's going to happen to Camden in the next 10, 15 years. It's already been started. It started 20 years ago, if not more. So you see that eds and meds type of movement here in Charleston. You see, and shout out to Vanity Deederville, who actually made me see it, that it was happening here, not just with places where I used to live, but you see that growing footprint of both CFC and MUSC. And then through the Friends of Gadsden Creek, what we're able to uncover is that when developer Riley, your mayor, developer Riley, when he started the Horizon Foundation, there was the foundation and the nonprofit status was done in cooperation with MUSC. And so a lot of things, a lot of zoning and plans that resulted in these TIF districts, these 9 specific TIF districts on the peninsula, those things started with a relationship with the MUSC Foundation, right? And so you have to look at the MUSC's connection or the relationship between them and the city, and that'll help you understand what we were looking at last night with Dr. Sweat kind of saying, hey, I guess we can, is it really that bad? I don't know. Vaccines. Yeah, vaccines. And you see McMaster doing that. Why is Dr. Sweat sounding like McMaster? Why is Dr. Sweat sounding like McMaster? Touting vaccines, but pumping the brakes on masks. Right? It just makes you think a little bit. Right? Let's watch.
Happening now, the City of Charleston City Council meeting is set to discuss the declining rate of COVID-19 cases here in the Lowcountry and the impact that has on a potential mask mandate. News 2's Kate Prestack joins us now live in studio. And Kate, you had the chance to speak with experts who will be presenting during that meeting.
Well, Sophia, those they spoke with at the Medical University of South Carolina say that we have hit our peak in the Tri-County, and just in the past 7 days have seen a 35% decrease in cases.
So we need to look at Roper's response.
Beginning around September 1st, we started to see declines, and they've been quite substantial.
So again, Dr. Sweat right here, this is Dr. Sweat making himself available to the media yesterday before the city council meeting. That's interesting. Now I'm going to look at the front page of the Post and Courier. Y'all, am I like, y'all like, let me drink my coffee. I need more coffee. Okay. So this is the story on the front page of today's Post and Courier. School mask mandate ban temporarily halted. That's what we just read, right? Let me go to, here we go. Then over here, council defers vote. So last night, y'all just dropped in the chat, right? Council defers vote on mask rule. All right, let's blow it up. And then we're going to get back to Dr. Sweat. Making himself available to the media is interesting. Okay. Damn, they got Adam doing this. Okay. All right. We'll look into 30% rise for council members. Okay. Charleston City Council members tabled final approval of mask mandate. Remember how I told you 2 weeks ago, how does government look like they're doing something when they ain't doing nothing? We're going to talk about masks. We're going to put it on the agenda. We're going to talk about equity. We're going to talk about the special commission, but we're not going to do shit. Right? We're going to act like we're moving forward, but then we're not going to do shit. We're not going to pull the trigger when we have to. Right? Right? It looked like they didn't like what they were hearing from Roper, so they went back to Dr. Sweat. It feels that way. I might be off, but it feels that way. Charleston City Council members tabled final approval of mask mandates September 28th. That was yesterday. Opting instead to keep the ordinance in their collective back pocket in case, look at this bullshit. And we saw this in real time as we were kikiing. I was drinking that nasty Seagram shit. Oh, shit. My bad, y'all. Hold up. All right, here we go. Keeping it in the collective back pocket in case it's really needed during the winter when coronavirus infections could spike. Michael Sweat, faculty director of the Medical University of South Carolina, of MUSC Center for Global Health, suggested to council that the mandates ought to be used strategically in case of emergency. He noted that the Tri-County region has now he noted that the Tri-County region now has an infection rate of 47 per 100,000 per day, down from 133 just a couple of weeks ago. All right. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Is that one of those fake back pockets, right? That doesn't open. El Cool J, that was a good one. Still doing nothing. That's sold shut. Yep. All right, let's get back to so again, him making himself available. I'm sure they went to the Post and Courier and said, hey, because he's mentioned in this article right here, the first paragraph. And yeah, I'm sure this is not unintentional. Let's go to A4 because we gotta go to A4 anyway. Go to A4 real quick. to continue the story. Oh, we're going to get to this canal. It's actually, this front page story is actually what confirmed my desire to want to talk about Blackwater. Perfection. All right. Okay, let me do it like this. All right. Vote was 10-3 with Councilman Harry Griffin, Carl Brady, and Kevin Shealy opposing the measure. I guess that's from the previous time on the 14th, right? On the 14th, second and final approval was set for the 28th. Immunity is up and the hospitalization rates are declining. Though medical staff is still are severely burdened with cases, he said. A vast majority of COVID-19 infections, 85%, are among the unvaccinated, will also comprise 71% of those hospitalized and 75% of those who have died because of the virus. All right. The most important protection available is the vaccine, right? The aggressive, yeah, we already heard that last night. Let me see if they have any counter opinions. No, they start talking about other stuff. That's interesting. It's crazy how the headline is about city council and mask rule, but then you go on and on about the other agenda items, right? And you don't get a rebuttal. You don't get a countering opinion from, I don't know, another medical institution. I'm telling you, y'all, the reporting here, JV, I'm sorry. Why headline it about masks and then talk about the Ashley River connecting to the Cosgrove, Savannah, Magnolia? Is that about? No. Road intersection neighborhood meeting moved along quickly. Mike Seekins pursuing 2 projects. JV. Somebody put that in my lexicon now. Now it's stuck. JV. You're not ready for prime time. You're not the number 1 city. If you can't even like give a counter an opinion. Who's Davey? What do you mean Davey? That's Adam Parker. Who's Davey? Didn't understand the assignment. Somebody didn't. I said JV. Maybe you heard Davey. I don't know. All right. So let's go back to this story. Just watch this.
Right now, we're at 47 cases per 100,000 per day. So this decline is really a great thing.
The Tri-County's COVID-19 impact status changing today from severe down to significant.
Don't get the wrong impression.
Y'all be trying too hard to be funny. No, you be trying too hard. 47 cases per day
is actually pretty high. So what we're seeing is declining rates, but we're still at a pretty high rate right now. So people should keep that in mind.
Dr. Michael Sweat, the director of MUSC Center for Global Health, says he anticipates the decline in cases will continue, but there's still a chance that the Delta variant continues its reign.
It could flatten out if it's going to do what it's done in other places, and we run the risk that it could actually go back up.
That risk,
I don't understand that.
Weather accompanied by a cycle where safety precautions are
like, yo, we've been here before. I don't understand. It could go back up, but let's not move forward with mask mandates. Why not do the thing that help keep the numbers going down? Why not do the thing? I don't understand that rationale. And then he keeps talking out of both sides of his fucking mouth. Like, I don't understand that. In my off time, I'm going to go back to the September 14th council meeting, and I'm going to listen to the other medical professional they brought in to talk about those rates. Did you notice also Shealy did not rebut anything Sweat said, but Shealy brought up graphs and charts and Domino's pizza trackers, all that shit, all those graphics to rebut the Roper guy, but he didn't do that shit last night. So again, the relationship between Dr. Sweat and the council is it's curious to me, right? It's like we've been here before. What's up, Kia? Good morning. Wishy-washy, yeah. Right? I don't think he's scared of politicization. I think he's been brought in to do what he's doing though, right? And he's coming off as that old shucks. Please be mindful of the old shucks. You can't be working for no me. What was his title again? Don't fall for that dadgummit, Jimmy Stewart, Mary. Don't fall for that shit. Michael Sweat, faculty director of the MUSC Center for Global Health. You are faculty director Okay? That means you got a lot of letters after your name. You went to school for a long time, hopefully. Okay? Okay? So, like, they like to pull this shit. Mayor Riley did it. Tecklenburg does it with the piano and all that other stuff. Don't fall for the all shucks. So you working for MUSC. MUSC is a very powerful institution here. Don't think of it as just a hospital, y'all. It's a state hospital that wields a lot of power and whose footprint is growing rapidly. And I'm not trying to sow seeds of like paranoia. I'm just like, it is what it is. They're a political figure. And so when they bring a representative to talk to city council, to speak to and with city government, you have to scrutinize that relationship. Again, not sowing seeds of like, oh, they're coming to take your homes, which they kind of are coming to take your homes. Not really. Like, seriously, like, look at the development. Look at the development. Look at the Horizon, the origins of the Horizon Foundation and the Horizon TIF, right? But, like, I'm not trying to make you paranoid. I'm trying to make you think critically about this relationship, if that makes any sense, right? Definitely. So that's the thing. But Noah, to your point, he's making. I want to actually go back and give you acknowledge what you're trying to say, what you said. To your point, he is looking like he's trying to have the appearance of not politicizing. He's already in the game. It's politics already there, baked in. Again, Shealy not saying shit, right? But yet coming up with graphs and charts and shit. For, when the other guy was like, I don't know what you're looking at, but my staff said, it's cutthroat, right? Like, it's crazy. Oh. Sorry, hey, Anna Marks. He was grasping. Y'all saw him scrambling for charts from and then he went to the what did he go to? The school board? Like, you going to the school board's website? You're not going to DHEC. You're not going to Roper. You're not going to MUSC. You went to, okay. Yeah, Shealy was, right. That's my whole point. They brought in someone that was more in line with the business, the CBD, the business district and whatnot. And that's the other thing too to factor into why they're not moving on it. What is Helen Hill and those within the city business district? What are their interests? What are they trying to do to accommodate their patrons? Right? How are they not? They definitely not enforcing any masks indoors. They probably don't have any placards posted at the door at the entrance suggesting, unless it's some sort of national chain, like when you go into Costco. I went to Costco yesterday with Left Twix, aka my mom. So that, like, going into Costco, that's a thing. But nah, you're not gonna see that like that. All right, just real funky.
Increased after each decrease in cases.
I don't even want to watch this.
We're not asking people to storm the beaches of Normandy.
He said that last night, and it's corny. I can't. Don't downplay that shit. Don't downplay it. All right. So check it. Let's get to Blackwater, because I actually took a break after yesterday, and even this morning I didn't turn on any news. I watched a bunch of gossip on YouTube because I need a little bit of a break outside of Dean Stevens stepping away from News 4, which is huge, and he's a fixture in our homes, and we wish him luck. Outside of that, the last night's no movement on the mask ordinance. I'm telling you, they love to pump fake. This city, you think they going up the dunk? Nope. They're not going up the dunk. Okay. All right. So the city, just watch that shit. What's up? Oh, is it All Girl 12? You said you want to hear from the infectious disease doctors. Come on, not the director, the faculty director for global health, right? Come through. Absolutely. Good morning, Joy. Let me see. Anna Marks, you said yes. You said Donna. Is it you just that always just capitalized accidentally? Is Donna new to town? Rise, folks. Oh, Rise. Wait. What I missed about Rise? Oh, okay. That was an interesting exchange you had with Donna Newton during the school board meeting about Charleston Rise. Oh, Donna, she's not new to town. Donna's not new. No. Donna Newton, African American woman. Didn't she run for Nancy Mace's didn't she run for District 99? I know Jen did. I thought Donna did too. I put in Donna Newton. Let me see. Yeah. Hold on. Donna's with Charleston Rise now? Jesus Christ. She asked me to, Donna Brown Newton. Yeah. Trying to make sure we got the same person. Yeah. Right here for 99. Yeah. This is the mom to one of the cocktail bandits. Just making sure. We gonna talk about it. I'm gonna delicately talk about these nonprofits using Black people to Trojan horse a lot of nonsense. You think what she shared was disinformation? Yeah, that's the thing about this is the thing about the candidate pipeline here in South Carolina, specifically around Black candidates and Black, because she has ambitions to be in the political scene, to be an elected official. And the thing about the pipeline, I'm coming at Emerge, not a fan of some of the people in Emerge, but not a fan of the apparatus itself. Within that pipeline, it just it doesn't talk much about the political interests, at least in my exposure to it. Conversations I've had with women who've gone through Emerge. And I think a lot of prospective candidates, don't know how to, they want to win. They want to get with the right click, and a lot of interests could get in their heads. And I'm not trying to take away, good morning, this Justin. I'm not trying to take away her agency at all, because I think Donna is a fabulous woman. But I've seen this too many times where Black women are the Trojan horse or a lot of bullshit policies, and so it makes it complicated for you to attack the policy because the face is Black. Charleston Rise is an expert at that. During elections, when I worked for Black Voters Matter, even when I was just supporting local Black Voters Matter leaders, Charleston Rise, their presence at the polls was troubling, at polling locations. The T-shirts and all that other stuff. Did somebody mention the T-shirts? Yeah, Anna Marks, you talked about it. Yep. Oh yeah, you said the same thing I did, Jinx. I didn't even catch that. But yeah, they do a lot. Charleston Rise did it, and no shade to the Black women. Like, it's really hard because I was trying to have this conversation. But Charleston Rise did it. And who's the other one? Charleston Promise. They do it. Oh Lord, they do it. Oh my God, Charleston Promise did it. That's when I got in real big trouble, cause I fucked up. Like, cause I got more upset at the influencers than at the actual institution. Yeah, this was dumb. So yeah, so I this is when I got in one of my notorious spats with I believe one of the future not even here it is. So yeah, this shit. Charleston Promise did this shit, right? Yup. So this is the formula, and I got in trouble because instead of I want to kind of just apologize again publicly. Open in new tab. Open image in new tab. Okay, I got in this whole situation. I got in trouble. Instead of focusing on, I make this mistake a lot. Instead of focusing on Charleston Promise neighborhood and the board construction, I got caught up in this, right? Shout out Radia. I got caught up in this. So first of all, this person right here is trash. Like, I'm not mad at that. But David White caught a stray. He's doing what his family has done for years, jumping in, helping nonprofit. I believe this is the executive director still of Charleston Promise neighborhood. But basically they use the influencer model to float this bullshit ass this shit. So you basically can pull up to places like Burke and you use the familiar iconography of Lauryn Hill's classic album, right? For the white people who don't know what Lauryn Hill album looked like. Her only album, her only studio album. They used the famous, the iconic, legendary iconography of this classic album, right? See, this is how they do. This is how they do it. So they took this Miseducation of Lauryn Hill classic album, Jersey Stand Up, and they created this bullshit. So they come to Burke and other places. They got these black influencers right here, okay? Former radio host. And I don't know what she's doing now. Her husband called me ugly because I attacked the program, and then he tried to attack me at On Radio. So like they have the black influencers come and say, hey, you can be the face of this big philanthropic effort. And we're going to call it the Miseducation of Gentrification. So we're going to tell you that gentrification is not a bad thing, guys. Hey, I know you heard this word called gentrification. It's not that bad. It was a mess. I got so caught up in there. It was problematic, and I got so emotionally charged that instead of attacking Charleston Promise neighborhood and the political and financial interests behind it, I got caught up in some bullshit. But we live, we learn. Love, laugh, live. So like, so again, I'm more profoundly apologetic to David, because David is he a sweetheart. He's just trying to make it out here, make good content, do events, do his thing. Not my thing, but ain't nothing. Let him do his thing. Like, ain't nothing wrong with it. But the other ones got a little personal. But like, and they also don't like when another black person challenges what they perceive as just being vanilla nonprofit work. There's no such thing as vanilla nonprofit work. There's no such thing as, unless it's some real grassroots shit, ultra grassroots, selling quarter waters. I don't know. It ain't no. You got to be suspicious of some of these institutions. And this is the formula. Going back to the whole thing about Donna, right? So you got Charleston Rise, you got Charleston Promise neighborhood, you got all these nonprofits that look decent. They hire black women. Black women are EDs or program directors, all the while they're floating propaganda and bullshit. So basically, they set up a whole nonprofit fair in Burke High School. And it's the thing. Burke, this area didn't even need me, because the community came out and was like, fuck this. How you gonna tell me gentrification is okay? And then the whole time they have a bunch of nonprofits in the hallway ready to take your information, ready to get you on certain listservs, ready to start pumping you with a bunch of bullshit, keeping track on you, collecting mad data and information about you, more surveillance, right? More surveillance by Anita Zucker, more surveillance from Ben Navarro, right? Getting these so they were trying to say, hey, gentrification is not that bad. And they had the black people, and this is where I'm not going to let them off the hook. This is where I'm not going, because all of them was over 21 when this shit happened. Y'all got to do y'all homework. Y'all can't just take the check. You can't just take the pitch. You got to ask why. You got to ask who. You got to ask, well, is the community involved? Which local leaders are involved? Have you leveraged the local, like, you got to ask questions. You can't just say, oh, this sounds good, let me do it. And you can't, and also too, if you're an influencer and a major education nonprofit is coming to you for help, you need to ask, like, am I the right person for this? And outside of Radia, and this chick too, right? She works in politics too. I forgot her name, but I saw her a lot when I was on working with surrogates with Elizabeth Warren. I forgot her name though. But like Radia, she's in politics. That's her thing. I think she works for the sheriff's office now. So like, but you gotta ask, if you're an influencer, why am I at the table? Why am I helping this education nonprofit? Yeah, my uncle and my family might be involved, might have a philanthropic interest in the community, but why am I asked to help spearhead something like this? And and then ask yourself, gentrification education system. Why are we combining the two? You got to think about that. You got to think more long and hard about that. Let me see what y'all saying over here. And they asked black women to sign up friends at church. Absolutely. Yep. You says who was behind the messaging? Were they trying? They got some graphic designer to come up with the logo. No, I don't know who it was. I can't remember. It was on social media. But as soon as it broke, right? Key, if you still there, they tried to get Vanita. They tried to get Benny Starr. They damn sure didn't ask mikagadsden. I guess I was just too old. But they got the same olds. Like they was like, oh, and when I said, okay, you going after Benny Starr, and remember, I was like behind his creative, his creative and social media at that time. I was like, that's interesting. I said, and that's where that's where I met Benny. I'm like, hey. You're being asked to occupy spaces that usually an entertainer wouldn't occupy. Can we think about that? And then, of course, our conversations were not that calm. But that's where I kind of met him. Like, you might need to think about why this nonprofit is asking you to appear in their video propaganda, right? Right. And so from that, then I start, why are you going after Vanita? Because she's got 30,000 followers on Instagram? So you start seeing, influencer strategy, right? Right, Jarita Postaway and Henry Darby are on the board of, I bet, right? Yup. So this is the thing, and this is why I get in trouble, because, and this is also, let me acknowledge this very real thing. Went to college, put myself through school, still paying the loans, right? Mom and dad did their best to help out with, little things, incidentals, books, travel, stuff like that. Help me, get a car and all that other stuff. But I paid my own tuition. All right. I got hired off not literally, but figuratively, got hired right off the commencement stage. I didn't have to worry about no job. I hopped into New Jersey politics, got my job because I was a big leader on campus. I was a big mouth on campus. Got a job in Trenton politics right off the bat. Went to grad school immediately, didn't finish, but started grad school immediately. Went to Rutgers Public Policy. After I worked in government, in politics, knew it wasn't for me. Found it a little tiny bit, just a first skosh. Tried to get into PR, didn't work. Nothing worked. Found myself as an executive in retail management. After that, I kept ascending. I ended up being on the fast track to be a VP with Trader Joe's. Didn't like it, couldn't take it. Busted up my fucking knee, came down here with a bag. That's my story. I don't even mind telling nobody that. Busted up my fucking knee, Trader Joe's, excruciating pain, was smiling the whole way because I'm like, that's my ticket out. Came down here, so I'm gonna figure this shit out with my bag, right? Workers' comp. So I say all that to say this. I've never worried about job security. I've always been a hustler. I've always been able to get things cracking. I've always been able to, especially in the Northeast. My mother and me talk about this so often, even though my mom's in her 70s and she ain't in that realm. The jobs down here, the lack of job availability, the lack of options down here is staggering. Like that's one of the reasons why I never look for real employment here. That's why I was an Uber driver. That's why I did everything. I'm like, let me figure this shit out. The lack of jobs here, it creates this need. It creates this thing, and I might be oversimplifying it, but I'm just giving you my perspective as a Black woman, right? Who now, right? Like, not now, because I'm doing my own thing right now. This is my job. This is my full-time job. But like, I see how the need for employment has informed where these Black people show up as well. We're not going to give you justice. We're not going to let you build equity in this neighborhood. We're not going to make sure your schools stay desegregated, but we're going to give you a fucking $40,000 a year job. We're going to give you a $50,000 a year job. We're going to give you a $60,000 a year job. We're going to give you some kind of semblance of job security because we're not going to give you justice. And Riley did that shit too. Right? That's why when white people say, well, you can't say, oh, Joe Riley was great to Black people. He gave them jobs. He didn't give them no equity. He wasn't trying to make sure that Black people stay on the peninsula. He wasn't turning Black renters into home buyers. He wasn't trying to reverse the policy set forth by Mayor Maybank and other white mayors, Mayor Lockwood, who took land from Black people and put dumps in their backyard. He wasn't trying to reverse that. Right? And so this is a thing where a job is considered justice. And Bell Hooks actually talks about this too like as we come out of Jim Crow and out of the civil rights movement, as black people started to have more income, black people started to have more disposable income. I'm supposed to be talking about Blackwater today. Black people have some more income and spending power because they letting us in, because they finally say, okay, well, we're going to let the black people in to shop at our stores. We'll take their coins. We might not like them, but we'll take their money, right? So black people started to have money. Black people started buying things, buying homes, buying cars, buying boats. And we thought that that was justice. And I think that the vestiges of that mindset still are pervasive in how we kind of navigate things here in Charleston, especially because we're so deprived of real opportunities, real quality jobs. I left the Northeast making what? Close to 6 figures. I know I wasn't going to see that here. Even if I went back to retail, I wasn't going to see it here. Right? I just knew I wasn't. I didn't even try. So it never ceases to amaze me how the need for jobs, the need for access to real career advancement also informs how black women show up in these spaces. Right? Does that make sense? Did I go all around the world and y'all just kind of lost me on that? I know, Kia, you feel me. It says, Kia, you said it's sad to Charleston resident. You had to change careers and market yourself jobs outside of Charleston. Kia, Seriously, it's real. Hey, what's up, Alvin? At the end of the day, the only question that needs to be asked, how do we get all the resources? Let me see. Good morning, Alvin. Let me see what you say. At the end of the day, the only question that needs to be asked is how do we get all the resources white folks will bring without displacing black folks? Yep, invest in the community. Yes. Thank you. It's predatory. Right. And that's how predatory nonprofit culture. The owl lady, you said same happened when I relocated from New Jersey and I took such a pay cut. I'm telling you. So, and I'm talking a little family business, but I'm sure my mom won't mind. Left Twix won't mind. So like she, so my mom, my whole life, the breadwinner. Sorry, daddy. Daddy made money too, but mom was the hustler. I'm a hustler, homie, like hustler. And my mom was a hustler in the sense that she worked in a hospital. But she was also able to create opportunities outside the hospital, providing health care to an affluent group of families who needed 24-hour care. So she rallied all my surrogate aunties from the hospitals, like, hey, black woman, hey, you want to make some money outside, between shifts, or you want to have your own flexible shift? Well, this man over here in Rumson, New Jersey, his family needs someone to take care of their bedridden mother. Or hey, this woman in Hazlitt needs this. That's how my mama navigated New Jersey. And so she was an entrepreneur and she was a healthcare professional. She came down here trying to do the same thing. Oh no, hit the wall, like hit a wall. It's the same wall I hit in high school. No, you're not smart enough to go to a 4-year school. Literally had to take my ass to the library in the school, in St. Andrews High School, go on EBSCOhost and other databases, find the colleges that had relaxed entrance standards, because my grades weren't great, but I knew I was fucking smart. Found the schools, worked at Walmart, paid for my own applications, did my own FAFSA, did my own taxes, everything, because the school refused to help me with everything, right? And because I hit the same wall my mama hit. No, black woman, no. You got to think about, being a domestic or go to the military, which is no shade to the military. I'm just saying those were the things, right? And so that relocation from the Northeast it'll open your nose up. It's very sobering. It just was like, oh, okay. I said all of that. But damn, how we get there from Donna Newton? But Donna Newton, unfortunately, she probably unwittingly just a tool, just being used. And again, not taking away her agency, not insinuating that she's not intelligent. I'm not. But if she's out there spreading disinformation on behalf of Charleston Rise, and I've seen how I've seen them hire folks who are either house insecure, or like houseless, or people who are really in need of help. I've seen them hire these people on election day and just put a t-shirt on them and have them stand out. They don't have necessarily any type of connection to the work. They just hire these black people who they probably view as just black bodies. And I've seen Charleston Rise do that, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting practice with these predatory, to just continue using the language that Anna Marks dropped in the chat. The predatory nonprofit culture here is disgusting, right? Very disgusting. Anyway, let's get to Blackwater. I said all of that, but yeah, I got in trouble right here. Yeah, her husband, I don't even mind calling her out on this one. Her husband came, because she let her husband do it, came to on radio and was about to punch me in my face. Oh my God. And he just kept stalking us, and then he wouldn't leave, and he just kept trying to fight me because he thought I wasn't even talking about her that day. And this one called me ugly. I think she's gonna be on Southern Charm. So she's signing up to be a token. From what I hear, I don't mind saying that either. She already said she's gonna fight me. So please fight me. I would love to see you catch a charge on some bullshit. On words. I ain't never fought a day in my life, y'all, but something tells me I can hold my own. No weapons involved, I can hold my own. Never fought a day in my life, but something tells me. All right, let me not be so messy. All right, anyway. Blackwater. So what I wanted to do today, based on after waking up and seeing the front page, because honestly I was on E yesterday after. Like, I knew what I wanted to do this week, and then I kind of lost the desire. I lost focus, and I was on E, but in a good way. I got lots of rest, and it was great. It was like a good exhaustion. But when I saw this front page, site of the old Santee Canal remains now under conservation and easement. We're going to read this a little bit, but it inspired me to talk. More about Black history through water. Of course, when you think of water, when I say Black history through water, South Carolina, you might think of slave ships. We will be talking about transatlantic slave trade. We will be talking about the practice of enslavement, but we're not just going to stay there. We're going to talk about the Santee Canal. We're going to talk about the Santee Dam, Lake Moultrie, and we're going to start by talking about buried Black town.
Over the past couple years, more Americans have become familiar with the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre, where a white mob burned a vibrant Black community to the ground, which is crazy. Even crazier, dozens of other Black towns have been erased off the American map, not by burning them down, but by hiding them underwater.
So the town in South Carolina, the area we're going to focus on is the area around Lake Moultrie, Lake Marion. Not a Black town per se, but Black people were displaced because they flooded Ferguson, the town that's underneath Lake Marion. They flooded it by creating this whole Santee Dam shit. Let's go.
Don't know what I mean? Well, let's find out in a segment called How Did We Get Here? This is Lake Lanier. It's a lake in Forsyth County, Georgia, where people go swimming and boating and fishing and do a bunch of other lakey things. But before it was Lake Lanier, it was a town called Oscarville, Georgia. Now, Oscarville was a thriving, predominantly Black community with a church, a school, and dozens of homes, until the year 1912, when a very bad thing happened. Oh, two very bad things. In 1912, two Black teenagers were accused of rape. They were tried, convicted, and sentenced to death in a single day. And after they were executed, a mob of white men terrorized, drove out, or killed all the Black people in the surrounding area. And they did that until the entire Black community of Oscarville disappeared.
Damn.
The county went from having over 1,000 Black residents in 1912 to 0 in 1920. That story is so sad, it makes this story look like a comedy. After the Black community had been run off, the white people of Forsyth County said, you know what we could use? A big old lake. So they made one, right where the town of Oscarville had just been. They flooded the area and literally covered up the entire town with water. This is what it looks like right now. But the town is still under there. The homes and churches and schools, they're still down there. And now people go boating on top of them. Compared to that, this is truly a rom-com. Now, you might be thinking, what a weird, isolated incident. But just like the rat who ate the pizza in the subway, this story is both crazy and common. Ever heard of Collegia, Alabama? It was once a thriving Black community with a Black college, the first Black railroad, and literally hundreds of family homes. Today, it's Lake Martin. At least they had the decency to name it after a black person.
She's stupid.
And if you think this kind of thing only happened in the South, let me introduce you to a place called Central Park.
Come on through.
It's named after that coffee shop on Friends. Central Park used to have a black community in it called York Hill. But the city of New York destroyed York Hill so that they could build the Central Park Reservoir. Because if there's one thing New York needs, it's another place for ducks to hang out. But if you come here, don't try and feed those ducks. They are very aggressive.
Thank you, Dee.
Mess around and lose a finger. Now, when the residents of York Hill were kicked out of their homes, they fled to another black community nearby called Seneca Village. And then a few years later, New York destroyed Seneca Village too, so that they could build Central Park on top of it. The craziest part of this story is that I work a few blocks away from a place where the government disappeared 2 black communities. And until recently, I didn't know about any of it.
That's a lot of us.
You know why? Because it worked. They tried to erase black communities and they came way too close. But now there are people doing the research. So we are finally learning about places like Henry and McKee Islands, which is now located under Lake Guntersville in Alabama. And Vanport, Oregon, which is now located under Delta Park. And all of these towns, which are currently literally underwater.
New Jersey got one.
Hey, wait, hold on. What was that last one? Old Neversink. That's a real place. Well, if we've learned one thing today, it's never assume something is unsinkable. There are over 100 drowned American towns, and many were destroyed in the name of something called development-induced displacement. That's when people have to leave their homes so the government can develop things like dams or parks or lakes. This happens to both white and black people, but historically when it happens, black people and other people of color are undercompensated for their property or not compensated at all. The theory
I knew about
is that
Central Park,
the short-term bad effects
not the other ones,
the long-term benefits
Lake
for the
Lanier.
community. But it's not fair if the long-term gain is mostly for white people. Now, luckily, there's a solution. It's a very complicated system. It involves a series of, who am I kidding?
Cut check.
Some dang checks.
Cut a check, Alvin.
If you're going to kick black people
That's
out
what
of
we
their
gotta
homes,
be saying, Alvin.
make sure they have the money to stay on their feet. Cut a dang check. And yes, you can pay their descendants too, because generational wealth is one of the many things that is destroyed when you put black communities underwater. So cut a dang check.
Yes.
These drowned towns are part of the black American history they don't want to teach you. It's ugly and it's gross and we don't even know all of it. And the more we find out, the harder it is to love this place that would do those things to so many people. And if you're feeling this way, which I often do, you can try loving what this country could become instead. Our history may be full of pain, but our future has limitless possibilities. So look to the future while simultaneously being suspicious of every lake you see. This has been How Did We Get Here?
Is she right? Social justice work is, and this is definitely after reading Octavia's Brood, a compilation of all types of written works inspired by Octavia Butler. I read in there that, social justice is science fiction, right? It's because it's how we imagine better futures, right? And so I think when I do want people to get emotionally charged at this history, this lesser known history that we're not really acquainted with. I want you to feel emotion. I do want you to lean into the rage, to the outrage, to the anger, whatever it is. But I also want you to think about how we can plan and create better futures, if that makes any sense, right? I ain't a big fan of Amanda Gorman though. I don't know why I just said that. D, don't hate me, but I'm just not a fan. But I got you. She said in her poem, I had literally turned her off at the inauguration. I'm sorry. It's an unpopular that's a cold take. I just feel like it's all concocted. It just feels, the way the machine was set up, they were just printing her books after, it just felt icky. Let me drop, so let's go to the history. Kia, you were saying you didn't know. So I didn't know until I was till I did more work in Berkeley County about Lake Marion, about Lake, Lake Marion, Lake Moultrie. Let's just watch this story. This is one story about Lake Murray, and then we're gonna no. Let's do this. Go to my bookmarks. Blackwater. Today's theme is Blackwater. We're gonna pull this up for sure. Get that ready. The planner. Talk about Black slave wrecks for sure. And we're gonna talk about, let me see what I wanted to pull up real quick. Okay, so this is, oh my God, and you know who whiffed? The new museum. They whiffed. Yeah. What are we calling it? The IAM museum, the AIM museum? Yeah, so they whiffed. So they have this here. It says Gallery Santee Cooper Relocation Project. Okay, not terrible. Some really important pictures and some references, but the constant relocation project, relocation impacts of relocation, and then they position it right here. Let me see. It was like the positives of relocation. I'm like, the positives of taking a town and forcing poor people to clear their own land and burying their town underwater. Like, they whiffed and how they positioned it. And so this is from University of South Carolina. This is Memories of a Drowned Town. So it begins with, I'll make it bigger. It begins with, I got you in the chat. I see you. I just can't. I'm gonna get distracted. All right. So it begins with the account of an 89-year-old, and this was written in 2020. When 89-year-old Richard Mims was just a boy in the 1930s, he remembers playing a game he called Executive in the abandoned offices of the Santee River Cypress Lumber Company in Ferguson, near his hometown. I never can say this town. Is it Etowahville? I never could say that town. Mims' father, Franklin, and several of his nephews were among the last employees who worked in the mill town, which existed from 1890 to 1940. The business itself operated there for a quarter of a century, from the 1890s to the 1910s. Ferguson is now underwater at the bottom of Lake Marion. All right. So then I this is dope. You need to hear from these walking institutions, right? I encourage you all to do your Googles, find this story. But of course, I'm like, what the black stuff, what the black stuff, what the black stuff, what the black stuff. That's just what I do. I want to know more about Ferguson. I'm like, gotta be, if it's a white lumber town, I was like, gotta be some black labor up in there, right? And we're gonna get to some of the history. So this is some of the vestiges of it. All right, keeping the history alive. Wait. Oh, let me find. There we go. All right. So I'm like, it gotta be some black stuff in here. So in addition to a lumber mill, the company also manufactured finished products such as pickets for fences, cypress shingles, cypress shingles, skip, balustrades for hand railings, but by 1920, the company was out of business. The town was abandoned and then drowned by Lake Marion, displacing 2,500 to 3,000 people, the majority African-American tenant farmers. I repeat. Okay. All right. In addition to the lumber mill, right? But by 1920, the company was out of business. The town was abandoned and then drowned by Lake Marion, displacing about 2,500 to 3,000 people, the majority of which were black farmers, right? And then you go back to the IAM Museum's pictures. These are the folks. So again, IAM is calling it relocation. I don't think that. So they say, let me make this a little larger. This is a whiff to me. feel like an intern wrote this shit. All right, the Santee Cooper Relocation Project. The Santee Cooper Power and Navigation Project began in 1939. Listen to this. Did much to stimulate South Carolina's economy after the Great Depression. The project improved navigation. Listen to this. Project improved navigation and provided hydroelectric power from the Santee and Cooper rivers to Berkeley, Georgetown, and Horry counties. During the project, 900 families were relocated and more than 6,000 graves were relocated or buried beneath the waters of Lake Marion and Lake Moultrie. I don't understand how, who wrote this shit? Thank you. Thank y'all for the phonetic spelling pronunciation. I'm seriously. This is the African American Museum's. This is their contributions to this, right? So when I read this last night, I was like, oh, this can't be how African American. This can't be the analysis of how these 3,000 black folks was displaced and relocated. And then the last sentence got me, who approved this? During the project, 900 families were relocated and more than 6,000 graves were relocated or beneath Lake Moultrie, Lake Marion. So then I said, because y'all, I'm curious. I'm a curious person, right? I'm not, I knew there had to be a study on it, and by golly, the best $15 I spent all week was downloading this study right here. All right, the best $15 I spent all week. Thank God. Let me pull it up as a PDF. Now, this is the analysis: the Low Country Landscape, Politics, Preservation, and the Santee Cooper Project. Okay, y'all gonna indulge me? Let me read this. What is this? I got you, Anna Marks. Thank you. Yo, let me read. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Relocation project is dang favor or something, right? Hey, we've got this nice place over here. Oh, your loved one? You can either we can reinforce it with cement, and leave it there because we're gonna drown your city. This is white and black people being impacted, y'all. Oh, you can move your loved one. It's gonna cost you this, that, and the third, or we'll just reinforce it with something. Okay, let me read this to y'all because this is the analysis. So when you think about drowned towns and the impact on black people, this is how you kind of need to especially in terms of this whole Santee Cooper project. All right, and I know you're probably saying, well, Tamika, you're finding things that meet that meet your standards. Yeah, I am, but moreover, what I'm trying to do is find more thorough analysis outside of, hey, some people moved and some people were buried, and it was relocation, and they provided some money for people. It displaced black people, and there's literal historical record of black people saying, hey, hold up. There's more to this story. Also, too, what the museum failed to do is talk about how this was an effort. This article talks about 3 areas, but what the International African American Museum fails to do is also it fails to indict the government and the energy folks that y'all dropped in the chat already. It failed to indict them for what they really were trying to do. And also, we talked about the preservation regime. We talked about my friend Brian's scholarship and talking about how preservation and how natural preservation, like conservancy, as seen on the front page of today's Post and Courier, how that really is a way to keep land ownership in white hands, right? Not only that, plantations and rice fields, former rice plantations and the other types of plantations are now these types of conservancies. White people are not paying taxes on that land. It's tax free because you have this new status of new conservation status. So you enjoy these immense tax benefits, thus keeping white wealth intact and in certain families and in certain areas in perpetuity, for almost forever, ever, right? We need to talk about that. So it wasn't just a drowned town and forgotten history. It's also who was displaced? What was displaced? So I'm gonna read the abstract. This article explores the cultural, political, and ecological impact of the Santee Cooper project, the largest New Deal project in South Carolina. Nothing from South Carolina says this that I found, not yet. the largest New Deal project in South Carolina. It argues that the New Deal, in reshaping the landscape, permanently altered the Lowcountry by wiping away a large plantation district and a vestige of the Old South, and replaced it with a recreational district and integral part of the Sunbelt South. First step in this crucial transformation was the battle between New Deal politicians. Does it sound familiar when we talk about infrastructure? Current day? You know, Tim Scott is like, nah, fuck that infrastructure. I'm going to scuttle it. Lindsey Graham was like, I kind of want to do it. You know what I mean? There's billions of dollars on the table. Okay, let me get back to it. Let me be serious. Okay. Replaced it with recreational district, integral part of the Sunbelt. The first step in this crucial transformation was the battle between New Deal politicians and an alliance of landowners, conservationists, and power companies. Each side presented very different views of the South's future and past. One looked to industrial growth as a model for progress, while the other looked to the preservation and environment and traditional racial roles. Let me do it again. One looked to industrial growth as a model for progress, while the other looked to preservation of the environment and traditional racial roles as an antidote to modernization. Given the Great Depression, which some of those articles did reference that, given the Great Depression and South Carolina's pressing desire for jobs and change, the New Dealers won, and the opposition's argument largely fell on deaf ears. The Santee Cooper project has largely been ignored by historians, but this article places it within the context of 3 recent works of environmental history: Sarah Gregg's analysis of local reactions to federal landscapes, Sarah Phillips' work that shifts environment to the center of New Deal policy, and Paul Sutter's study of wilderness preservation and resistance to modernization, right? So it goes on to talk about the New Deal. I mean, I read this out loud, very, very loud in this apartment, to kind of get a better sense as to what power structures were being, I guess, held up. Like they said, the resistance to modernization. I got you in the chat. The Huguenots, the French, most vocal locals were white elites who lived. Here we go, right here. The most vocal locals were white elites who lived in grand plantation homes built by their French Huguenot ancestors during the 18th and early 19th centuries. These historic homes stood as symbols of a social and cultural power rooted in the past, but fading quickly, in part due to the New Deal's drive for regional modernization. Local preservationist-minded elite. Does this sound familiar, y'all? Local preservationist-minded elite were joined in their opposition by national environmentalist groups. They found common ground, who feared consequences, right, that the project would have on the Lowcountry's ecology. In direct path of the project stood the Santee Swamp, the largest remaining stand floodplain forest on the East Coast. The Santee Wetlands, this is some fucking Pelican Brief shit. The Santee Wetlands held some of the oldest bald cypress trees in America, provided a rich habitat for threatened species such as the ivory-billed woodpecker, and filtered. I know y'all gonna be like, what's going on to me? What you doing? And filtered much of the eastern South Carolina. In the end, local and national pleas for preservation of plantations and wetlands failed to win the support of state legislators and federal administrators when challenged by a bold vision of hydroelectric power and industrial progress. Okay. There's another part that jumped out about the lost cause. Like they're trying to also maintain a lost cause narrative. But I'm gonna hop out of that and go back to videos. Did I lose y'all? I hope I didn't lose y'all. All right, let me see what you're saying. Wait, you aren't talking about Charleston? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This is Charleston. Social programs for white people. Joy, you said spin. Or we are going to give your loved ones a beautiful waterfront burial, right? Yeah, when I was talking about that, money gives them what they want more than money. So let's take a look at this clip from WLTX. I think it's from the summer.
really.
Now this is Lake Murray.
All right, Jim, thank you. How much do you really know about
Charleston,
Lake
kid.
Murray? When it was built in the 1920s, it was the largest man-made lake in America. The lake is nearly 50,000 acres with roughly 500 miles of shoreline. At one time, that area was known as the Saluda River Valley. It was settled in the 1750s by German, Swiss, and Dutch immigrants with two major towns, Dutch Fork and Saxagatha. But those towns are long gone. They were buried in water after SCE&G bought the land, creating the lake. All that remains now are remnants of a past that few people alive know little about.
Oh.
On any given day, you'll find Steve Franklin and John Baker on the waters of Lake Murray, searching for the past, one dive at a time.
A lot of people think it's eerie, but I mean, you know, it's really not. It's a step back in time.
I got you.
These two men have devoted hours discovering a forgotten time and place that sits at the bottom of this man-made lake.
There are a lot of towns throughout the lake, a lot of old churches, schools, cemeteries.
When SCE&G purchased the land to build Lake Murray, 75% of it was just a wooded area. The rest of the land consisted of 9 small towns and communities, home to nearly 5,000 residents. 90 years ago, in 1927, SCE&G paid to relocate them all and build new structures elsewhere. All that
it ain't like they got they'll pay to relocate them all. It ain't like that was heaven. That wasn't.
Remains now are bits and pieces of the past, some big, some small. One of the bigger pieces is the old stone house. It was built in the 1800s. Despite its size, the murky water made it hard to find.
When we found it, we actually swam through the front door and hit our heads on the back walls. But that was neat to be able to find that and see how it's still kind of preserved. I mean, you got all 4 walls and some of the rafters of the roof still.
And because of that poor visibility, Steve and John rely on sonar to help in their discoveries. It gives them a clearer picture of what's on the surface, nearly 200.
So this is up, look at that bridge, y'all. So this is up there in the Midlands, right? Lake Murray. So we're gonna go back down to Lake Marion and Lake Moultrie. We're going back to the Low Country, to Berkeley and whatnot. But I just want, this story was like one of the few stories you can find on underground that gives you a visual as to what these underground towns look like, and this practice with these power companies coming in, the hydroelectric power and all that other shit.
100 feet down.
One site that
Justin. Exactly, eminent domain. Let's stop acting like, you know, they wanted to delightfully move to someplace, and usually the folks, especially black folks, had to clear their own land.
Is the old Wise Ferry Bridge that used to span across a river. What was cool we found recently was a stamp in the side of the structure, the supports that hold the bridge that says 1911 when the bridge was built. Then we were dusting off some of the old concrete that support of the silt that had settled on it, and found a bunch of the construction workers' names that was drawn in.
There are old roads. The roads are still quite identifiable. They're old dirt roads.
I don't know why they put all that music behind it. It's distracting. I get distracted. But like, yeah, so I'm gonna stop it there because that's the Midlands, because I want to make sure we get back to Santee. Let me see. Underwater. Oop. Let me see if I saw something on YouTube. Nope, just Lake Murray. Right, like and then we know about Lake Lanier a little bit. We're not gonna go to Georgia right now. But this is again, I wanted to give you a visual of what these towns look like, the technology they have to go and see these towns. I want to get back to that study real quick because I know this is a little dense, but I'm trying to also just and not stay stuck on this on just these towns and whatnot. Not stay stuck on any one thing because we got to get to the Slave Rex project as well. But I wanted to pull out things that are very culturally specific, very important. Here we go. Here it is. Okay, so with the Santee Cooper reservoirs became a recreational mecca after World War II. Project supporters had initially listed it as one of the most insignificant of the potential benefits in an essay. In this essay, I focused on the tension between New Deal planning and local resistance. I argue that the defense of the environment and historic homes served as a way for Lowcountry landowners to articulate a resistance not only to the project but to modernization. Their vision of the landscape derived from a localized version of the lost cause, one that celebrated the antebellum South through preservation and plantation landscape. Think Historic Foundation in Charleston, think preservation societies, whatever, that's the preservation regime that we talked about in the previous live stream, right? So when you think preservation, don't think, oh, it's just history and statues. No, it's a way to maintain land ownership. It's a way to maintain white history. It's a way to maintain these plantations, these rice plantations. Think Caw is a park, so it's a county park, so it's a little different. But down a ways, when my friend Rebecca took me to Jumanji, there's a natural preserve down there. Literally, is fucking Jumanji, like wild hogs and everything. We almost got fucked up. Big ass alligator, like it was bad. Rebecca just loves nature, and she was just la da da da, and literally the biggest vines I've ever seen in my fucking life. In the middle of we in the middle of like swamp Jumanji, right? But that's a preserve, and that's staying in the hands of wealthy white landowners. And because it enjoys that designation, it enjoys those tax breaks, and also they're able to kind of erase the whole rice plantation history. That was engineered by black expertise, by African engineers from the continent of Africa. They're able to erase that history and just talk about the ivory-billed woodpecker and all the other bullshit, and these crazy looking fox squirrels that are over there. Like, they look really weird, like a skunk and a squirrel hybrid. They talk about all that shit, but they don't talk about the actual engineering expertise there that built Caw, name a rice plantation. Does that make sense? All right. Justin, you dropped something in the chat. You said anyone wants to go on a dive on how many examples are out there. Thank you. Hey, Allie. You feel so ignorant. No, what they hide this from it. They literally hide it underwater. It's just, thank you, this Justin. Yeah. All right. I'm learning that a lot of my followers like historical deep dives, and I found my people. I feel like I found my tribe. For real, because Justin, you just made my day, right? Disney-fied history, absolutely. They don't want people to know, and that's why I'm so disappointed at the International African American Museum. Like, yo, this is your chance to tell the history. Don't try to make it easy on Santee Cooper. They probably a big donor. I don't know, but I'm assuming there might be some interest there. But this is your time to oh no, they buried this town, Lake Moultrie, Lake Marion. There's a whole town at Ferguson under there, right? So let me go back to this, and I'm gonna finish this up and then we'll transition. Their vision of the landscape derived from a localized version of the lost cause, one that celebrated the antebellum South through preservation of a plantation landscape rather than Confederate monuments in general. So they went that route. So instead of doing the actual monuments and the statues, they knew where the money was at. And the money ain't in the statue, the money's in the land. The tax breaks are in the land. So there's more than one way to preserve some bullshit ass history, right? All right. Given the old St. John's location in the borderlands near Charleston, local elites rhetoric bore similarities. Let me scroll down. Rhetoric bore similarities to that city's preservationist sentiments. Come on, remember the first historic society that thus also contributes to redlining, that actually was like the architect of redlining, started in Charleston. This state and this city enjoys some really gnarly distinctions, and their first historic preservation society did just that. And I love that this scholar made sure to highlight that there was a concerted effort to preserve a certain type of historical memory, and also kind of like an ahistorical version of history as well, predicated upon white folks being able to maintain ownership of this land, of these resources. Okay. So let me read that last sentence again. I know I'm being redundant, but y'all got me. Given old St. John's location in the borderlands near Charleston, local elites' rhetoric bore similarities to that city's preservationist sentiments. All right, so he's referencing another scholar that we mentioned earlier. In her work, oh, he says it right here. In her work on the Charleston preservation movement, Stephanie Ewell contends that a small group of white elites sought to slow and control the modernization of the city in the 1920s by creating an imagined and usable past. She created an imagined and usable past. Writers, artists, architects created a version of history that romanticized genteel planters and their primitive but loyal slaves rather than revive the bellicose sectionalism of the city's political past. In Charleston, preservationists successfully assuaged their own ambivalence. Come on, Brian Walton, you must have read this. In Charleston, preservationists successfully assuaged their own ambivalence about modernization and produced a sellable, sanitized, come on tourism, sellable, sanitized version of history. You don't know how much this is like. This is why I'm single. Swear to God. You're like, oh, you want to go out? You want to? I found this study on buried towns underwater. You want to read it with me? Oh, no? Okay. No, we can't date then. Sellable and sanitized. Okay. Wait. Okay. Wait, I want to. Oh, here we go. Oh, I see. Okay, sellable, sanitized version of history that allowed the city to prosper through tourism. Old St. John's Parish, however, never figured prominently in the South Carolina Lowcountry tourist industry before World War II, though it served as a setting for early novels, right? So basically, y'all, this is the sentiment that went behind a lot of the plans for the Santee River, the Santee Cooper project, so on and so forth, right? And I think this was, again, this was important. Oh, this is the most important part. Okay, this is the most important part. This is the most important part. And then I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to the videos. Hold up. All right. One critic of the Santee Cooper project, always look for a critic of any major projects, even the critics you don't agree with. Just look for the critics. Look for the haters. Look for the mikagadsdens. Always look for them. Look for the dissenters. It helps you understand both sides or all sides of the argument or what was going on. All right. One critic of the Santee Cooper project, Archibald Rutledge, fashioned his own version of the past when he returned home to live on the Santee River in the 1930s. Rutledge found his own fortune not in buried treasure. All right, he found his own fortune not in buried treasure, but in low-wage African-American labor force, which he relied on to restore Hampton's 18th century mansion and rice fields. Again, that's still a practice that's going on to this day, right? So think about the Black people who were impacted. Think about when you read about the Santee Cooper project, think about Black displacement, think about the workforce, think about, okay, so you displace this workforce. What do they got? How do they build their lives back? They had to clear their own land wherever they were paid to go. It wasn't easy. And then that's one thing that the IAM website got right, were the pictures of Black folks struggling to build homes and move and maybe bury folks, or maybe not. They got that good. This photo gallery is amazing. Let me see if I can. Let's see if we can see this one picture. Like this is a picture of like folks having to clear their own land. Like they had to clear these trees and then build these homes, right? So yeah, got Lake Marion. There's a town called Ferguson. There's an old mill under there. Check out the USC page about it. It gives you more about the whole Ferguson headquarters of the Santee River Cypress Company, all right? Cypress Lumber Company. Talks about that, talks about what it looked like. This is the old picture. And this is all underwater. This is all under Lake Marion, Lake Moultrie, all right? All underwater over there. And it's a crazy practice. All right, moving on. All right, let me see what y'all said in the chat. Hold on. Charleston Renaissance. Definitely, we should be reaching out. Let me see. Disney-fied, obscure, deep dive. I get it, but don't bump. Especially the IAM, D, you said they should be working to tell history. Right. The others are buried. Thank you, D. Or drown. Nope. Drown history, D. Instead of drunk history, maybe I should do drown history. That might be gnarly. Justin has a scuba mask in here. I'm interested in this conversation because I'd rather places be preserved than developed, but under our system, the only way it's done is through tax breaks. Exactly. Pseudo private ownership. Yep. Mika, you should reach out to the museum. Oh no. I already know I'm on that list. I could tell. Can I just say this? I don't know. And some of this is my gut, and some of this is through lived experience. I've been doing, before I was even like deemed as controversial, I've been sharing history. I've worked at local nonprofits. I've held what you would call respectable positions in this town. As the leader of Women's March, I always leverage the archive. I continuously leverage history to articulate my political points. At no time has anyone ever really sought out. I mean, I've got a book club. I'm hosting a panel discussion with the authors of Demarvi's Garden with itinerant literate books. I'm doing all this thing. I have a radio show. I'm doing all this stuff right in front of white folk. Right? I'm everywhere, and no one calls or emails when it comes to history, when it comes to like the ribbon cutting. So I know this is where the intuition kicks in. My lived experience is that I've never been asked to join these conversations. Maybe because I speak plain. Again, even before I was even like on level 10 spicy. And that's what made me spicier, was like this reluctance to acknowledge that, hey, all historians don't have to be Skip Gates. All historians don't have to be, I know a woman, with a, a silk blouse and a scarf with a brooch. Like, just, I'm not allowed in those spaces. So anything you're thinking of, I'm just gonna keep critiquing it. I'd love to be included in it, but the museum is a mess too. Not the new leadership. I'm optimistic, and I'm really excited to see the young lady do her thing. But like, I wouldn't even. Yeah, I've been leveraging the archive forever, in a very public way, and showing my fanaticism about the library, showing my enthusiasm about local history. Forever, and it's never acknowledged, and that's intentional. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Sorry. I just want to yeah. And then who's on the board? I can only imagine who's on the board. But white people, y'all can write. Yeah. Allie says I'll write something. Yeah. Good names, but whoa, I know Joy, Anna Marks, me, Allie, the board means everything. Y'all got to look at the boards of these nonprofits. Okay. All right, let's transition. So a while ago, and I'm being a little redundant. A while ago, and for 2-3 years now, or 2 years, I've been either cutting up parts of this presentation. I've been talking about the Ballast Stones. I've been talking about just pulling from this when 1619 project was launched in August of 2019. They had this. See, this is what Amber should have got. Real rap. When Amber launched her commission should have had some kind of programmatic thing. A programmatic effort, and I actually pitched that to Scott Watson during the History and Culture subcommittee convenings. I said, look, I'd love to be a part of the developing of something programmatic, knowing what I witnessed with this at the Hammer Institute, knowing like at the New School, knowing how other institutions have embraced local efforts to really highlight a past a past and a history that's more inclusive and more accurate. I know what that looks like for it to be supported. I've lived in those places. I've visited these programs. I've flown out to attend certain programs, the Schomburg, on and on and on, the Whitney, on and on and on. And so I believe that whether or not you make it policy or not, give Amber and the commission its due. Now coronavirus is one thing, but there has never been any interest in creating some sort of programming to help support the things that we go over, to support the things that Alvin uncovered as he chaired his subcommittee, support the things and the scholarship and the findings that Crystal Rouse found when she chaired her subcommittee, right? So on and so forth. There wasn't that programmatic arm that you need to help people kind of illustrate the things you find. And so said all that to say, even this was beyond what was in 1619, bringing in, and I want us to get her name this time, because I know I don't ever say her name, and she's going to be pivotal in this next part. Let me see if she said her name. I want you to get her name.
Good evening.
Let's see if they say her name.
Hey, Mary.
Hey, Nicole.
It's been a long journey together, right?
Yes, but a good one.
So,
let me see if she, wait, I might have to rewind
Mary
it.
is going in the.
Let me just get it back.
She collaborated with us on. I believe this project was necessary. It's because we don't teach the history of slavery in our schools. We cannot confront this, and so it's hard to understand where we are today when we don't understand the past. And what we get about slavery is not the unvarnished truth. So part of our effort is we created this special broadsheet section of the paper, and we produced it in collaboration with the Smithsonian. And in doing so, we're trying to set the record straight. If you haven't been to the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., you absolutely should. I've been 4 or 5 times. It's still not enough. It reframes the way that we see this history, much as we're trying to do today. And so our first guest is the woman who co-curated the Slavery and Freedom exhibit at the museum. She collaborated with us on the newspaper section. She picked the objects that are in there. She helped us write this story. The first time I met her, I told her she was going to be my best friend because she's just that amazing.
She is.
Please welcome the Smithsonian's Curator of American Slavery, Mary Elliott.
Okay. So it's through Mary Elliott's scholarship that I told y'all about the whole Ballast Stone thing. She talked about the Low Country Basket. She talked about the rice plantations, right? All right, but I wanted her to talk about the slave wrecks. Oh, here we go. Ballast Stone.
And it altered women's reproductive systems. And so for people to wrap their head around the fact that in the United States it was cotton, wheat, sugar, rice,
indigo,
tobacco, and that we perfected natural increase. 400,000 people came to what became the United States, but at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 million enslaved African Americans who gained their freedom.
So the next image is the Ballast Stone.
Again, just for visiting
the Ballast Stone. So we have a program called the Slave Wrecks Project. We go around and we look at
Slave Wrecks Project.
Slave shipwrecks around the world. We try to identify them, authenticate them, and raise artifacts from the ocean floor. The Ballast Stone is from the São José, a slave ship that left Lisbon, went to Mozambique, picked up captive Africans, was on its way to Brazil to sell them into slavery in Brazil. It crashed off the coast of South Africa. There were 512 enslaved Africans on board, 212 perished, the others were saved. Why? Because they were property and therefore profit. They were sold into slavery. But the Ballast Stone, what's important about that is it was the marker that helped us identify the ship, because ballast stones offset the human weight so the ships wouldn't turn over. Through doing archival research and maritime archaeology, we were able to identify this ship because the records show that there were 1,400 ballast stones aboard this ship. And when you think about it, think about how we read our landscape.
Come on.
Ballast stones cover the streets in Charleston, South Carolina. They come in different forms. In St. Croix, the ballast stones cover all of that landscape in the form of yellow bricks.
Hey, Jessica, I miss you.
So this is history in plain sight. You can't mitigate slavery. There's no such thing as a
So I wanted to get to that part. The landscape piece, again, going back to the scholarship of the homie T. Robert Hart, Low Country Landscape, Politics, Preservation, and Santee Cooper. You can't talk about, when we talk about landscape, I know it's literally land, but we talk about the way that water, whether it's through transatlantic, I'm trying to weave something very intricately, but you fuck with me. I think you get me. I'm trying to weave this together. So not just the literal landscape that what we see with our eyes, we're seeing how water and how Black bodies and Black people interact with water, and how that interaction also informs the landscape. Does that make sense? Right? So if human beings are being brought over, human beings are being enslaved and brought over from the continent of Africa across the Atlantic Ocean, to be exploited for their labor, to be exploited for so many different things, right? And to give birth to modern day American capitalism, we have to think about that voyage, right? I'm being a little sentimental, and I'm being a little spiritual, I think, too. There's another word out there that I'm trying to grab it, but it's also very literal, right? And so I want us to think about Black people's bodies and Black people's relationship, Black people, Black human. Something I read yesterday really made me rethink the use of the term Black bodies, because I don't want us to lose our humanity, but like I want us to think about the literal Black body, yes, and also Black people and their relationship to water, especially in a place like Charleston. So when we talk about drowned cities, and you're talking about, of course, not just Black people being displaced, but thinking about so much other things that have been displaced as well, history, and how they took that opportunity, especially with the Santee Cooper project, took this as an opportunity to rewrite history and to make all these different arguments basically to make sure that they that power stays in the hands of a elite few, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. You said, wait, the ballast stones? Oh, cobblestones, Allie. Cobblestones. Yeah, Chalmers. Exactly, Anna. So she said ballast stones, think cobblestones. Because it wasn't just that rectangular shape, it was also other types of rocks. Like she said, St. Croix has the yellow bricks. So think of the, and I know I think Nick Butler, some other folks did some history in terms of like, some of those cobblestones came from some other usage, but there was definitely a practice of ballast stones coming to pave the streets in Charleston, right? So think cobblestone streets, think that part of the landscape, the tourism landscape. I'm telling you, slavery is like baked, they sell it. We just read it too, right? A sellable history, a sanitized sellable history, and that's why cobblestone streets are so Instagrammable and all that other bullshit. Yeah. Ballast stones, ballast. Hey, Susanna. All right, so I wanted to take from Mary Elliott, because Mary Elliott was part of that Slave Rex project, the Smithsonian and whatnot. So this is National Geographic, but let's get to it. This is not specific to Charleston, but it is specific to Charleston.
During that,
there she is. All right, here we go. See the ballast stones at the bottom?
People,
you saw them, Allie? Like a teacher calling a student out.
In the bottom of a cargo hold of a ship.
Right there at the bottom. I don't know if you can make it out. Yeah, you see the ballast stones? And the cargo and all this stuff? So think about that when you think about the cobblestone streets. The reason why I get so wrapped up, not just the literal history and how it's so relevant here, but when have we seen programs like this here in Charleston? How come we don't see programs like this, right? Joni, I got you. How come we don't see this type of like excavation, or this type of science, this type of like, why has this city like severed Black people's connection to water so well? Like, why? Like, it's just really interesting with this state, with white supremacy, I guess, in a very broad sense, but like these practices and around the use of water and just, I don't know. We're in the low country. Charleston is literally below sea level. It's sinking very rapidly. As climate change, as the climate crisis and sea level rise become more and more of a reality. And yet we don't explore the water. We don't have this relationship with water that's harmonious. We're building bullshit walls that won't prevent the city from sinking. We're building walls. We're trying to either bury towns underwater, drown towns, or trying to fill creeks, Gadsden Creek, fill creeks with waste. And it's just, we just do this shit with water. We do this thing where we have this really overwrought relationship. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but we have this relationship, this really horrible relationship with water here. But wouldn't it be great to just see these type of diving instructors and boats that leave from the aquarium or near there, or leave from, the harbor, and that talk about this history, not just tour around Fort Sumter and the Yorktown and shit. Like, really talk about, it's right. So I'm gonna bounce out real quick. I know. All right, diving with purpose. I'm gonna open this tab and I'm gonna open up backwater. Boom. And I think the opening of this is important. Let's see. We'll skip around.
This day in history and see preview clips of upcoming programs.
Good evening, everyone.
Let me get to after the whole preamble. If you know me, get to know me. Lectures, I hate the preamble. You could have just put it in the church program.
Diving with
you ain't got to give the announcements at church. Just go ahead and put it in the program.
Purpose. So please join me in welcoming.
It's from last year.
Haebler.
Thank you, Jane.
This is Diving with a Purpose.
Before we get started, Dr. Jones and I would like to thank the Harvard Museum, Peter, and a special person, Jenny Bergen, for allowing us, providing the opportunity for us to present this evening. It is a true honor.
Yep, Brianne.
Diving with a Purpose, restoring our oceans, preserving our heritage. DWP is a community-focused organization, and we're dedicated to the conservation and protection of submerged heritage resources. Now, we do this by providing education, training, certification, and field experience in the fields of maritime archaeology and ocean conservation. And this is available to both youth and adults. Now, we have a special focus on the protection, documentation, and interpretation of African slave trade shipwrecks and the maritime history and culture of African Americans who formed a core labor and expertise for America's and even the global's maritime enterprises.
Okay, I want to stop it there. And again, this is on C-SPAN. So this is the other thing. A lot of stuff. Hey, follower, Monique. A lot of stuff, y'all, like, go to C-SPAN. It's the other, like, little, it's not even secret. It's C-SPAN. I use a lot of C-SPAN content during these live streams because you're not going to find everything on YouTube. Google ain't the you got to go to JSTER, got to go to your local library, got to go to, the South Carolina room in the library. You got to go to a lot of these places to find this stuff. But go to C-SPAN and watch the rest of this. Is it Hagler? Yeah, they said Preserving African Slave Trade, to learn more about Diving with a Purpose. But we're going to go right back to YouTube real quick. We might come back to that. I don't think so, though. So they talked about the slaves. Again, this is the longer presentation. Let it play a little bit more.
Larger collaboration of partners who are dedicated to
hold on. You know what? I wanted to read Joni's comment from up top. Joni, you said you would love to visit the Door of No Return. I'd have an emotional breakdown. My twin brother, I always joke, my brother went to before the pandemic. My brother, he works in academia as a chaplain with a university in Illinois, not too far outside of the Chicago area. And he also, he's a chaplain, but he also, because he has his degree in coaching and a lot of like athletic stuff. Anyway, he chaperoned, I don't know. He was one of the faculty or staff, whatever, that went on a trip to the continent. And I forgot which areas of the continent he went to specifically. I always joke with him and say, you went to Wakanda and you left me here, just like Killmonger. And I am the Killmonger of the family. He's Black Panther. I was like, you left me and I went back to Wakanda. But no, when he went, Joni, he said that how he was overwhelmed by how everyone said, welcome back home. Like, he wasn't even at the door of return. I know that for a fact. He wasn't there. But like, Joni, if you still watch, like, he was so overwhelmed. and just was like, everyone kept saying welcome home. I would bawl if somebody say welcome home. I'd dissolve into just salt water right there. It's crazy. It is crazy. So yeah, Jessica, you dropped something in the chat I want to read too. Had a very long conversation recently with a close friend and her husband who is African. They discussed their different experiences living as Black people in Africa versus America. My girl, it's very complicated too. My girlfriend mentioned a feeling of grieving and feeling orphaned, that Africans don't really accept African Americans. That's real. There's some animosity there in some instances. But the tension is real. Let me not say that. The tension is real. Accept African Americans and neither does America. Right. It's a gut punch. Right. It's obvious now, but I didn't realize she felt disconnected that way. And again, like not embracing that history and that, like not our institutions, not helping us maintain that connection the way, like, so Jersey in the house, right? One of my Jersey peeps, Nicole, you still here, looks like how many trips, Nicole? I don't know how many you did, but we, and then also I went to college in Jersey City, but throughout my life, we went to the Statue of Liberty often enough, went to the Statue of Liberty or Ellis Island, right? And, like all of my white classmates for the most part could connect with, going to Ellis Island and, seeing Polish immigrants, Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants, see that whole narrative. And we're there like, I mean, I'm learning as a kid. I don't know nothing. So I'm like, this is wild. Oh, wow. Look at the old timey clothes. But my history is not reflected in that migration. That selective, that voluntary migration story. Ours is involuntary, right? And we're part of a forced migration story. And so the door of return, and my argument was, but how Joni and me want to eventually go to the door of no return. Is it no return? I'm sorry, I'm saying it all kind of ways. We want to go there. We want to go back to the continent. But also I feel like it starts in Charleston. I think Charleston really fumbled the bag, especially around the 1619 project launch. Regardless of what these people feel, there was a way for them to wrap it around the museum. See, this is where the preservation societies and the historic societies and that new museum, what's about to happen. It's post Dylan Roof massacre. Again, not to politicize it, but just making it plain, you could have wrapped around it and you could have positioned Charleston as the destination of where people should connect with, because that's where so many of us came through, right? And I know me having my last name, Gadsden Wharf, holds a very specific place in my heart. Like I know my connection to that area probably is more profound than a lot of people, right? Right? Yep, segregated pools. Yep, we talked about that a little bit, about beaches. Yep, thank you for saying that, Susanna, your comment as well. Door of no return. Yeah, I keep saying back and forth. Oh hell, Ellis Island. I mean, as a kid, it's just, hey, we're not in the classroom, but like, and I'm not saying that I love history, so I'll go back to Ellis Island all the time. That ain't like, I love that. Oh, and I love the movie. I love the Godfather movies. Is that Godfather 2 where they get at Ellis Island when they talk about more of the origin story? I mean, Ellis Island is dope, but it's just my history is not reflected there. Yeah. Anyway, I think Charleston, there's a, I don't want to, you don't have to mimic the door of no return, but there is like a welcome home or an acknowledgement that a lot of Black folks' stories begin there. So there's something that we could have positioned about Charleston in preparation for the museum's opening prior to COVID. There's something we could have embraced with water, with the Gadsden Wharf, with all of that, right? If we're gonna be a tourism city, come on, let's get the Black history a part of that. Like, come on. That the Union Army during the Civil War, did you know the Union Army had a navy? So Black men been on boats, right? Not just shrimping boats, okay? Right? Black men been divers through either the military experience. Like we don't see this depiction enough, so we don't see it, we don't imagine it, we can't connect with it. Therefore, this, right? Has the planet been found? This is back in 2014. All right. Let me make it a little, The ads, y'all. Come on. I already paid for a subscription. What do you want from me? All right. The wreckage of one of the most famous Civil War vessels to sail South Carolina waters may have been found off northern Charleston County. I know I referenced this during another live stream. All right, but I didn't read this article. So again, this is Robert Smalls. Hey, waiting on your major motion picture, bruh. All right. The wreckage of one of the most famous Civil War vessels to sail South Carolina waters may have been found off northern Charleston County. Those behind the possible find aren't saying much, but they plan to announce more details during an event next month. This is back in 2014, so it's when I just got here. Early on May 13th, 1862, enslaved pilot Robert Smalls seized the Planner, a 149-foot Confederate transport ship from a Charleston wharf, maneuvered it past Fort Sumter, and surrendered it to federal vessels outside the city's harbor. Newspapers called the move bold and daring, and Smalls won freedom for his crew and several other slaves. No shade, but Harriet, her boat saved 750. You know, her a collective of boats. You know what I mean? The raid. You know what I mean? 750. I'm just saying. All right. 2 points for Team Girls. I'm not making Robert Smalls compete with Harriet. They're both phenomenal. But you know what I mean? Harriet did free 750. You know what I mean? The original Noah. I don't know about the biblical Noah. She my Noah. You know what I mean? They came with livestock, babies, girlfriends, cousins. Newspapers called the move bold and daring, and Smalls won freedom for his crew and several other slaves, including his wife and 3 children. The Planner, a wooden vessel built in Charleston, continued to play a role in the war and later was sold to private owners who returned it. Okay, so it didn't wreck, but it didn't wreck while in the heat of the battle. Who returned it to its pre-war role of transporting people and goods. Okay, I get it. All right, by the account of the Dictionary of American Naval Fighting Ships, she sank in a storm off of Cape Romaine while assisting a stranded ship on July 1st, 1876. Okay, let me see what y'all saying. Okay, release. You talking about that? Okay. Charleston, Jessica, you said Charleston should recreate the seizure of the Planner. I want to recreate it just with me and like a bunch of black, a bunch of black friends. I'll be Robert Smalls' wife, ad-libbing everything. I just want to lead a rogue reenactment group just running around the battery. And then my ass, ahoy, ahoy. It's like, Mika, why are you dressed like a pirate? You're supposed to be Robert Smalls' wife. I don't know. I just thought it was appropriate. Oh, God. Let me stop. You buy a ticket. Ahoy. Arr. I'd really lose a lot of credibility. Anyway. All right. So y'all catch me up again. The Planner was the Planner found? And let me see if there's a story linking to it. What happened after they thought in 2014? Did they find it? Did they dive? Did they send? Okay, it says, however, NOAA's African American Voyage and Discovery Initiative recently sent out a press release announcing that May 12th event concerning the search, the probable discovery of the Planner. Okay, so NOAA did get involved. I got a thing from NOAA too. NOAA ain't just hurricanes, y'all. I got it in my bookmarks. NOAA. Blackwater. Here we go. Okay, NOAA identifies probable location of iconic Civil War era. This is it. So this is back in, this is what they referenced. Back in 2014, NOAA announced today they determined the probable location of remains of Civil War. Did they find it? Rogue reenactment. I have one of those clipper ships all over, right? Jessica, right? Eye patching a pirate. It's like, cut. Tamika, you're fired. Tamika, you can't be in this shit no more. You got this all wrong, fam. So did they ever like, I don't know, I guess me could just Google it. All right. I did though. I think I did it this morning. I got frustrated. The plan of Charleston found. 2014. I'm looking for something current. So I'm gonna hit the news tab. 4 days ago. That ain't it. No. What's this? Robertson escaped from slavery. Subject commandeered. This was in June. Oh, Kaylin wrote it. Planners, Smalls, led, small author. Oh, it's just about. Anyway, let me see what y'all say. What's a LARP? Wait, that's a LARP? What's that? Something? I'm trying to understand that. All right, so after 2014, I don't know what happened to the planter. Did they confirm it? Oh, live action role play. Tamika, why are you wearing 2 eye patches? What's going on? All right, let's get back to it. But yeah, the planner. That to me. Maybe the museum is working on something. Maybe the museum has something in the works. I'd be really excited to see that. Let me see what else I wanted to hit up on Blackwater. Wanted to. We already know about that. I like the story of the Cotilda. Because the National Geographic also did something in relation to the Cotilda. It's not specific to Charleston or South Carolina, but I just thought this was. Let me see which side I want to play. Let's do it this one. But I mean, we could be doing this. I got y'all. Look.
I was born in this 4-room house right next to the.
What does that mean? So you said the planner was a side wheel steamer, so we may need to jack one from NOLA. Oh really? Oh, a side wheel, like the old side wheel. I got you. They say this is how you can't just go by laws. That's why we got the black codes. Like, oh, Jim Crow or whatever, slavery's over, but then you gotta look at what the practices were. Oh, slavery's over. Oh, you can't bring any more slaves or whatever it is, right? Oh, there's prohibition on bringing enslaved Africans from the continent. For decades, kind of wild when you think about how fucked up that is, but that's wild how like we just think of like, and that's the thing about Charleston, they only think about the enslavement of Africans through this really like myopic lens of, oh, this bad thing happened to black people. No. This practice over hundreds of years changed everything from local ecologies, from the environment to slave. You said what you say? Migration patterns of sharks. Like it influenced so much, right? And we don't even begin to understand or know these things until we start actually confronting the history, confronting the past, honestly, with open eyes. It's amazing. Thank you for dropping in the chat. And D. Cosign. Like I that's when the crystals come out. Crystals go away, when we talk about COVID, but they come out. We talk about history when the spiritual part, in all seriousness. I just feel like there is certain vibrations and certain things. I can ignore you. See, that's the thing. Divestment and people, again, it's not just about like taking your land outright. It's okay, we're gonna put a dump over here back to green, right? So we're gonna create this environmental catastrophe in the backyards of all these black people. So it wasn't just the eminent domain that happened over in, like, let's say Gadsden Green, right? When they started to fill in the creek. Yes, after the tornadoes, did they take the land? Yes, they took the land literally. But sometimes what they do is just divest from those communities and starve it till it falls into disrepair. And then that's when you got the stupid ass Charleston promises and all that talking about, oh, gentrification is good. You might as well go ahead and sell your shit now and get the fuck out and get pennies on the dollar. And shit like that happens, right? That's a very like broad generalization or oversimplification, but you get my meaning. Like they starve these communities of resources. They starve the communities of also of certain types of resources that the government's supposed to take care of these communities. It's supposed to fill potholes, yes. It's supposed to keep it clean, yes. It's supposed to not dump in your neighborhood. But and people start to feel powerless. That's why yesterday's interview with Hannah was so important, because these black folk won. They actually fought back and won, but people didn't take them seriously. The barrel owner didn't take them seriously. Their patrons didn't take them seriously. Real quick, and I'm gonna finish up here with Blackwater. Real quick, I will say this. About yesterday, I had a number of people, not a lot, but enough people reach out to me and like, oh, I believed him. I didn't know it was this bad. Like a lot. So that was interesting that, like Hannah said, no one's curious. The lack of curiosity that you would just believe this guy is acting like a fool on social media, who's making fun of the residents there, calling black people Karens. It was just wild yesterday. That reaction of I didn't know. Sometimes that pisses me off more than white people know. Like you didn't want to know. I'm not always the most. I don't know. I just feel like I would want to know. Like I would ask more questions instead of just saying, "Oh, when the bar gonna open? When the bar gonna open back up?" Right? I don't know. Just going back to yesterday real quick. A lot of people said it. I don't know. It kind of made me upset for some reason. Probably being irrational. But it made me upset. Like, you didn't want to know. What's that in the chat? When you get a chance, Sherry Mitchell has to share about the cannibal giant, how connect generation of energy. Cool. All right. They're sharing that with D. Cool. All right. Let me see. There's one more thing. So I wanted to tie it back to Gadsden Wharf. Now I was looking for a very specific clip from Henry Louis Gates, and I got PBS Passport. I got all of that, but I couldn't find the clip. I could not find the clip I want about Gadsden's Wharf, and no shade, well, much shade. This video right here from the International African American Museum, they scored it so loud and so ridiculously. Like, it's a 3-minute clip, and the music is just like, y'all know how I feel about scoring and B-roll and stuff. But I wanted to get y'all, I wanted to talk about, I know what I did. Fuck that. I'll play a little bit, and then I'm gonna go switch to, oh my God. The scoring, and then the editing.
African-American history, particularly in the Low Country where it started, it's not always happy or fun or even convenient.
What are they doing? Why are they do? It's dramatic for no reason.
It's hard to really understand all the horror that really took place here.
This is important, though. The subject matter is important. It is like the BBC.
I see these big transport ships. I don't know if that's an oil tanker, it looks like, and to some degree, sort of a modern-day slave ship. And it makes me really
I don't know about that.
Imagine what it was like when these old
respect to the
schooners,
home. Respect to the home.
Old slave ships would come in and drop our people off.
Whoever's producing this ain't doing no favors. Okay, right here. Again, talking about our relationship, and not just our relationship through human bondage. I get that people don't want to just focus on slavery, but it's important, again, to underscore our relationship with water, just in a broad sense, especially as it pertains to Charleston and Gadsden's Wharf, right? It's estimated that about 40%, shout out to the new subby, Thank you. This just in. It's estimated that 40% of enslaved Africans that came to America took their first steps on the continental U.S. on Charleston's Gadsden Wharf, right? So I want to kind of stop there because the scoring is really like off the charts. So let me get to, we'll go to our buddy Nick. You already had it up. No, I didn't. Our buddy Nick. All right, so the story of Gadsden's Wharf, we're not gonna be able to go through the whole thing. Nick does a great job. This is one of my favorite episodes. I haven't listened to this in a minute. When did he put this up? 2018, February 2018, Black History Month, right? But let's play some. Y'all want to hear a fiddle? That'd be me, my LARP. Pirate with a fiddle.
Welcome to the Charleston Time Machine. I'm Nick Butler, historian at the Charleston County Public Library, and I'd like to invite you to join me for a trip down to Gadsden's Wharf.
I love how it's
Perhaps you've heard about this site in the news recently. There's a movement afoot in our community to raise millions of dollars for a new museum soon to be built at Gadsden's Wharf. The new International African American Museum, or IAAM, will be an important addition to the city's physical and cultural landscape, providing an opportunity for Charleston to interpret and narrate our community's historical role in the local, national, and international trafficking of enslaved Africans. I believe this is a very important project, and the IAAM will provide an unprecedented opportunity to tell Charleston's story to the world. As we collectively work towards the achievement of that goal, I also believe it's important that we strive to tell our story as accurately and honestly as possible.
Come on, Nick.
The true history of Gadsden's Wharf, or any element of the past for that matter, is an amalgamation and interpretation of facts found in surviving documents and objects. As a historian immersed in the surviving historical documents of our community, I know only too well that our ability to tell the truth about a specific person, place, or event is often frustrated by the paucity of surviving documents. Some details about the history of Gadsden's Wharf are lost forever, for example, because of the lack of extant evidence. But a sufficient body of material survives to still tell a compelling story. Time does not permit me to present here an exhaustive, detailed account of the history of Gadsden's Wharf, but I can offer a summary of the most salient facts I found in relation to the mission of the IAAM. The bottom line is this. Gadsden's Wharf played a very significant role in the history of the transatlantic slave trade to North America and represents the ideal location for a museum dedicated to telling the story of the victims and survivors of the Middle Passage from Africa to the United States. So let's take a brief trip back to the early days of Charleston, and I'll walk you through the evidence.
Time machine.
Let's begin with the obvious questions. What and where is this wharf, and how did it get its name?
Yeah.
Gadsden's Wharf is a site on the east side of the Charleston Peninsula, along the Cooper River waterfront. More specifically, the historic boundaries of Gadsden's Wharf included all of the waterfront property between Calhoun Street on the north and Lawrence Street on the south. If you've ever visited the South Carolina Aquarium, for example, that building is located just a few feet north of Gadsden's Wharf.
They hated pre-black
The
women.
Fort Sumter Visitor Education Center at Liberty Square, next door to the aquarium, stands on the northeastern corner of Gadsden's Wharf. 300 years ago, this entire area was a brackish marsh that was washed by the daily tides.
Brackish. I just saw the word brackish. Where's that?
In 1696, Isaac Mazik received a grant for 90 acres of land on the Cooper River, including the site in question.
Every time you see these names,
In 1720,
I know black people with these
Mazik
names.
sold approximately 63 of these acres to Thomas Gadsden,
Y'all think that's my
who in turn sold
ancestor?
it to Captain George Anson in 1727. Nearly 30 years later, in 1758, Anson's attorney sold a large swath of this property to an enterprising young merchant named Christopher Gadsden, son of Thomas.
Sound like I didn't get my
At that time,
inheritance.
Christopher Gadsden's property included 15 acres of high land and approximately 29 acres of marsh. The high land encompassed all the property between what is now Calhoun Street and Lawrence Street, from the lobby of the present Gilliard Center eastward to modern Washington Street. Gadsden's purchase may have also included a house, perhaps built by George Anson, located at what is now the northeast corner of East Bay Street and Vernon Street.
Where the borough homes are.
Now, whether it was built before 1758 or after, a house at this location served as the principal residence for Christopher Gadsden's family well into the early 19th century. The real estate to the east, between the house and the Cooper River, was low, marshy land that wasn't good for much of anything. But I'm sure the family had a stunning view of the harbor at sunrise, though.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it because I want to skip to the we can read it. Nick has such a soothing voice. But I ain't really interested in the real estate that, you know what I mean? I ain't get it. It wasn't bequeathed to this Gadsden. Like, I'm missing a check. Christopher Thomas. I'm missing a check. I'm just assuming that these people are either my enslavers or my ancestors. Either way. Let me get to the part where I want that was dealing with the clip I was looking for. It featured Michael B. Moore that you just saw from the museum before he stepped away, but it was with Henry Louis Gates and Michael B. Moore, and it talked about Gadsden Wharf, and it talked about a warehouse in Gadsden Wharf. And all right, this is what I used to do. I used to do this a lot before the museum's construction started. So I used to just get up, like, well, when I was an Uber driver especially too, but I would get up extra early and go down to Gadsden's Wharf and just kind of connect with my ancestors, listen to music, meditate, all of that. I don't do it so much now because of all the construction, and I probably look like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. I just, don't do it now. Damn, somebody's dog got Marmaduke. Sorry, it scared the shit out of me. It's like at my door. But yeah, so I would go down to Gadsden Wharf and kind of connect there, all because of this one part of the story about, 40% of 40% of enslaved Africans came through Charleston, through somebody's port. But I wanted to get to the warehouse. Oh, Mika, fine. Oh, here we go. All right. So let me see right here. Like 30,000. Let me see. Yeah. All right. And the final demonstration of this fact. So there were warehouses down here, y'all. So during this era, mortality rates soared as greed and exploitation won the day. The final demonstration of this fact, several slave merchants held their newly imported human cargo off the market in warehouses at Gadsden Wharf, right? Well into the spring of 1808. So they kept black people in warehouses to help manipulate the market, right? And all that other stuff. All right. In an effort, right? It says it right here. So newly imported human cargo off the market in warehouses at Gadsden Wharf well into the spring of 1808 in an effort to drive prices higher. The last legally imported supply of fresh human chattel, this sounds so disgusting. The last legally imported supply of fresh human chattel dwindled, and the interest of profit, humans packed into warehouses died of fevers, exposure, and frostbite. So there were a number of Africans, enslaved Africans, who died due to frostbite, froze to death, fevers, and whatnot. It's just super sad. And I've known that history, and Michael B. Moore was the one that put that into my, burnt that into my head. And I'm like, wow, this really happened. And then of course I found more and more proof to substantiate that. Yeah. And that's why the museum, of course, that's why it's there. Right? That's that's one of the reasons why they said they chose that location. I mean, it's prime location. Aquarium's right there. That really weird monument to Ireland is over there. Did y'all see that monument to Ireland just sitting there? It's just weird. It's huge. It's huge. Let me see what y'all saying. Yeah. You said we need an Ellis Island rock there. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. What they say, what Malcolm X said? We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. I'm not saying you saying that, Nicole. It just made me think of that. Yeah, it's heavy. All right, so let me break out of that. Again, kind of dark, but I like history. Let me see if my homeboy, let's see if Cyrus still has his post up on Seaborn. So this is when I talk about my brother Cyrus Buffum. He's an oysterman. I forgot what I told. I called him an activist oysterman. Oysterman activist. So he's the one that got me into the archive. This is his page, y'all. So yeah, he says extremist, the extremist limit of the land, Charleston, wild oysters, Cape Cod. Yeah. Put that Cape Cod shit in there. All right. But he has some real dope Black history a long time ago on here. And it wasn't specific to this region, but we know that he has had relationships with conversations with Black oystermen, and like that's something else that we don't. So this is oystermen at Hilton Head. So these are Black oystermen. In 1904 he found this from the Smithsonian here. Let me hit like, right, and let me see what this is right here. All right, the cleaning table by David Bates, 1990. Looks like Men of Color, but I'm not sure. There was one poster he had I think I'm looking for. Shout out E.E. Just. Talk about relationship to water. Oh, we're gonna end on a fun educational note, kinda, because ain't no statue to E.E. Just. Ernest Everett Just pitching horseshoes on campus at the Marine Biology Laboratory in Massachusetts. So Cyrus has New England roots, so he ties a lot of like New England history and whatnot down here too, right? So I'm gonna read the caption because I know y'all can't see it. Ernest Everett Just was an early 20th century American experimental, I can't say that word, involved in research at the Marine Biology Laboratory, MBL, at Woods Hole at Massachusetts, right? So this is also the son of Maryville's Mary Matthews Just, another Black legend icon here. But his I'm surprised I didn't have his contributions to marine science. Are legendary, and this is a Charleston native that we don't even like recognize. Let me see the video that I'm trying to figure out which one. This one video that I took that was really good that I took.
1880.
No, this ain't it.
Ernest?
Nope, that's not it. Let me see. I could just go to my Instagram. I think it's there. And then I'm gonna say peace, see you tomorrow. All right, go to see if I still have it up. I remember when I started leaning into like more history content as opposed to just activist content, and how like the algorithm was like algorithm and interest waned so heavily. I went to Maryville. There's the Ballast Stone. I put that there. Here we go.
Everett Just was a pioneering African-American biologist,
Handsome,
academic, and science writer.
But no, I can't say it. Mixed company. Black women, if you want the tea, DM me for the tea. Him and Frederick Douglass. not them together, but just they.
Just's primary legacy is his recognition of the fundamental role of the cell surface in the development of organisms.
I'm not saying anything
in his
about
work
him
within
and
marine
Frederick
biology, cytology, and parthenogenesis,
handsome.
he advocated the study of whole cells under normal conditions, rather than simply breaking them apart in a laboratory setting. Ernest Everett Just was born in South Carolina to Charles Jr. and Mary Matthews Just on August 14, 1883. His father and grandfather, Charles Sr., were builders. When Ernest was 4 years old, both his father and grandfather died. Just's mother became the sole supporter of Just, his younger brother, and his younger sister. Mary Matthews Just taught at an African-American school in Charleston to support her family. During the summer, she worked in the phosphate mines on James Island. Noticing that there was much vacant land near the island, Mary persuaded several black families to move there to farm. The town they founded, now incorporated in the West Ashley area of Charleston, was eventually named Maryville in her honor. The Bridge Builders Foundation named their science program in his honor. The Ernest E. Just Youth Science Program is designed to expose minority students to careers and academic pursuits in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, careers in a manner that combines classroom career instructions with field trips and fun projects and experiences. The program allows middle school girls and boys ages 10 to 14 to explore the wonders and fascinations of marine biology and science. The program is dedicated to Dr. Ernest Everett Just, a pioneering African-American biologist who received international acclaim for work in marine biology. The program has two components, the Summer Marine Science Camp and the year-long Saturday Science Academy. We salute Ernest E. Just.
Yeah, they ain't saluting him here. Shout out to his fraternity brothers who are working to, I think they're trying to erect a monument. Of course, all monuments have to be like individually, privately resourced and financed. From what I heard, the city was trying to jump in there and like, oh, you're raising money for a statue for Ernest Everett Just? Okay, so we'll come in on the end when you finish raising all the money and doing all the hard work. We'll come in on the end and put our name on there somewhere. Fuck y'all. Probably gonna happen too. But like, where is this his contributions to marine biology, science? Of course, Mary Matthews is amazing as well. But keeping it about Black water and our relationship to water, our relationship to diving, to a Black rebellion with Robert Smalls, with Harriet Tubman, Black Black freedom and liberty, like our relationship. I wanted to kind of just encourage, or I wanted to kind of like spark something so that we start to reimagine our relationship with water, not just through human bondage. I know we spend a lot of time there, but I think the Slave Wrecks project is amazing, like amazing. Oh, somebody did a new video. Let's see. Yeah, this is the fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. I don't know if I want to watch it now. Let me see real quick.
Hello and welcome back.
No. All right. So, but watch it at your own. Yeah, it's really dope. His legacy is dope. It makes you again think about our relationship to water, our relationship with history, the city and this region's reluctance to really tell the truth. If y'all want that Low Country Landscape PDF, if you want that, hit me up. I think when you talk about the Santee Cooper project, like the front page of the paper, going back to that real quick. My neighbor's upstairs working it out. When you go back to that, this right here, preserving a jewel. Remember, when you think of preservation, when you think about the Santee Cooper Dam, like the dam and this whole extensive project, make sure you remember it and you have a lens that includes Black people. Unfortunately, too, we don't even touch the indigenous history that precedes all of this, right? So that's another part of it as well. That's buried underneath the Lake Moultrie, Lake Marion. So just as you read today, I thought we were going to read this. I don't have the stomach to read this. Not saying like that. I don't have the will to read it right now. I'll read it later. But from what I skimmed, I think it goes over some, but at your leisure, whip out that library card and read Adam Parker's piece on the preservation efforts and see what's missing. See what you think about what you'd like to see. Think about who's not represented in the piece. And I shouldn't assume that something's missing, but you know how it go. Especially given the other scholarship. All right. Does you love the Low Country Landscape PDF? Okay, Anna Mark, you got it. All right, Pasty. It's all good. He did look good though. He did look good. All right, y'all. I'm gonna leave it there. I went real long. I didn't expect that, but I wanted to just again talk about Black history through water and through our relationship with water and all that. All right, y'all take care. Thank you for holding me down today. Thank you for holding me down last night. Thank you for holding me down yesterday. Hannah's interview was like a highlight of like the month. Like, and we're gonna bring more interviews, especially around school privatization. I'm getting to it, y'all. I'm getting to it. Let me email Dr. Hill right now. All right, y'all. Take care. See you tomorrow morning. Bye.